AskGunQuestions.com is a website that we built back in 2007, and since then, for the last 15 years, people have been able to ask questions of simple to advanced nature, and we attempt to answer them in different ways over the years. Join us now as we start a new series to answer gun questions. And welcome, everybody. So, we're going live again. It's been a while, so thanks to everybody who might be joining us live. But on Saturdays, we try to go live to do like the promo or the intro set there, answer gun questions, I guess. And we probably have a bunch of them in the database over there because we haven't had a show in a while, and that's because Tony's been traveling and I've been traveling. So it's the first time we've had a chance to both be at our home bases, I guess, and a chance to catch up. So. Joined by Tony Simon. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. It's been a while.
It has. So, and that's because we went to SHOT Show, and then the weekend after SHOT Show, I guess we could have technically done it. I was sick the weekend after SHOT Show that Saturday. I was just getting a food poisoning kind of thing. So the weekend after that, I think we were both home getting ready to go do stuff, but I think we were both kind of busy. And then since then, you've been doing stuff, and I've been doing stuff. I had a rally on the 17th, the one that you flew out here for last year, and then we had a bunch of stuff. So the rally was essentially the same, since you know what we're talking about. You were there. It was about essentially the same. I really think it was fewer people based on the parking. Unless a lot of people carpooled, there were fewer people, but there was a little bit more tents out in the parking lots a little bit. So it kind of got spread out, and it seemed about larger, or as large, but essentially it was the same as last year. I forget how many speakers were last year. I think they had almost double that this year. So very, very quick speeches. So it was a little different, but similar layout, I guess, similar like format, but with twice as many speakers, or like at least half again as many speakers. It was 3 columns of a lot of list of speakers. So very, very quick.
That's a lot of people, man.
Yeah, and I don't know if I have an opinion on it. You know, it's does somebody really want to listen to somebody for 20 minutes at a rally? You know, so I guess I get it.
Yeah.
You know, we're into shorts and we're into quick stuff, but that's kind of demand on the speaker to say more than like, hello, you know, welcome. Okay, thank you for being here. See ya, you know. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. But then that's pretty much all I've been doing, and then just getting stuff done on Saturdays. So it's actually been good for me because I've had a lot of stuff to do on Saturdays, but bad for the show. So you've been all over the place, though, traveling. So first off, we haven't chatted since SHOT Show. So how was SHOT Show? Was it a good SHOT Show for you?
It was a good SHOT Show for me. A lot of things, a lot of places, a lot of people, a lot of promises that have been coming through from manufacturers. So you'll start seeing me popping up with firearms from different manufacturers to build relationships with for the future. Because my goal isn't just to get a gun. My goal is to build a relationship with these people so we can actually get funding. Firearms are cool, but funding is better because that pays for stuff. Firearms gets people introduced to it, and it helps 2A4E on one side. But being able to go, okay, I can have this flight taken care of is great. So SHOT was good. A lot of stuff.
You had a bunch of, I'm interrupting, I guess. You had a bunch of goals for SHOT. How did they hit them?
I think I hit them. I really think I hit them. It's hilarious, the learning curve to do with building relationships with companies. It's relationships. It's not just meeting people, shaking a hand, and keeping it moving, because that's happening all through SHOT Show. You know, it's
not like one is good or bad. There's a lot of like, oh, nice to meet you. Now we've met each other, but you know, we're all doing other things. So good to meet you, and we'll move on. That's not bad necessarily. It's just that kind of relationship doesn't go nowhere. It's just the hello, okay, we've met. See ya.
So one of the funny ones that we're going to try to build a relationship on, which I think we have, was one of the manufacturers, because I came here in 2020 and spoke at SHOT doing that industry event that you know about, and the Unity event where you had a bunch of activists on stage talking to the firearms community. And one of the companies that showed up, well, prior to that, I was staying at someone's house for a little while and met a guy. We hung out for like 5, 6 hours smoking cigars and BSing. Well, he works for one of the manufacturers that I ran into at SHOT Show this year. So it's 4 years later. We're talking, we're BSing, we're talking about what I'd like to do with that company. And I kept saying, "You look familiar somehow. Tell me, you know how your Google whatever photos goes, hey, 4 years ago you were in Vegas and this is what you were doing." I came back the next day. I was like, "Dude, we hung out all day at somebody else's house." He was like, "Oh, that's why you look familiar."
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
like,
You
"Yeah,
take it out
that's why
of
I
the
look familiar."
setting of like doing work or being in a building, yeah, and you're at a place or eating dinner with someone at a restaurant. You don't realize you're sitting across the table from somebody, eating, and then standing up with them in a show years later. Yeah.
Yeah, at a show. So hopefully that will help us build a relationship with this company because a lot of people kind of poo-poo them. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. It was Bursa, and most people here think about Bursa Thunder, the Sheep 380 or 22, PPK clone, but they
But
have a
do they
whole line of
anymore?
pistols.
It's been a while. I think they had the role of, like you're saying, all those guns were like the small options for small guns, but that was in the years in the 2000s and the 90s, I guess, where people couldn't really carry. So you bought that kind of gun and it was like your nightstand gun. Like you took it to the range and you shot it, but it was almost like a fire extinguisher. It was designed to sit in a drawer, maybe a holster or something near like stage near a bed, but we couldn't carry back then, except for off-duty police. No one was carrying back then, really, unless you lived in a state where there was just
Not
no
really.
laws like Vermont. So you know what I mean? Like people had different demands from a gun. So a small, tiny gun had very little appeal because why not have a 45 if you're just going to have it sitting in a drawer anyway? No one was carrying it around, and there was
Well,
really
that
no
was the
guns to
thing.
be very
Also,
smart. There's still
it
no
was the
gunfights. Go ahead.
and it was the reputation. It was the reputation that it was an inexpensive company. And I'm like, no, no, you just got the inexpensive gun produced by the company. Because Burst was actually the kind of not official, but one of the main suppliers of Argentinian police and military for firearms. So anyway, I fast
Well,
forward,
we
they
were
have
always
their own
susceptible to the
170s.
importers, and the importers said, "Well, there's already Colt and Ruger and Smith, so why don't we
Hmm.
import something cheaper?" And they didn't go to Bursa and say, "Give us your most expensive things, and we'll lose money on it." They went and give us your cheapest things, and we'll bring them in cheap. So exactly, we're just looking at
And that ended up, and that importer was actually Eagle Imports here in Jersey, run by Michael Sedini, who now does Walk Talk America. And that's how I met the other guy who also worked for Eagle Import and worked with Bursa and got him into the country. So that was that whole relationship working full circle. So what really caught my eye because I was waiting there to do an interview. I had an interview with Charlie Cook at Sam. Was it Samsung? Not Samsung. Sa- the, Sam.
Samson.
Yeah, Samson.
Yeah,
Samson. That
that's
make
what they
the
were doing
rails
their
and all that
podcast,
stuff.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they were doing their podcast. Well, you go a little further down. Kevin Dixie was doing right there, like next to them, at the next booth attached. Kevin was doing Recoil Magazine podcast onto the Versa booth, which was actually connected to the Samsung booth. So I just continued down because I showed up early for the podcast, so I wouldn't be late because it was in the other building. And then I saw that Versa is making actually producing 1911s in America. And I started talking to the engineer there, and that's what hooked me into. Hey, wait a minute, Versa's making guns here now?
Where's their
Okay.
factory? You know?
Down south, I think it was Tennessee.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and I'm guessing it's Tennessee, but it's definitely down south. We
Is it
spoke for over an
Arkansas?
hour about it. Is it?
I don't know. I think there's something in Arkansas, but I don't remember what it is. But there's a
Well,
bunch in
they're
Tennessee
American made.
also. So.
Yeah, they're American made and designed, so that's cool. And that was good for me because I wanted to check it out. And I'm talking to the guy about what it's like, and because he's the designer. He put it together, and then he started, the little Easter eggs in the 1911s. The reason there's what do you call those? The grips on the front, the striations on the front on the top of the slide.
Oh,
He's like,
yeah.
yeah, starting them off. He said, I'm starting them off deep at the top, but they're shallow at the bottom. So if it rubs against your hand, it doesn't cut you. Like he's like little things like that we put together when we. I was like, okay, cool, cool. So it was really, in my opinion, worth the time just to spend with them. It's Georgia, Kennesaw, Georgia.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah. So my whole point was I'd met. They couldn't make it down to Kevin Dixie's training line because they were supposed to be there in 2023. So to meet them in 2024 and pick up, or at least try to pick up on that relationship, is really good. I'm hoping to get some of that. They also have a full size service. They have a race pistol that's based off their service pistol, and I think for a pretty much $600 MSRP, it's a good thing for me to have in my events to try to encourage other people to come into the shooting sports with a gun with some decent bells and whistles for probably a $500 price tag. You know what I mean? Like you can either get a Glock, you can get maybe a Canic, or you can get one of these. This is just, on the same, in my opinion, same level as a decent Turkish import like a Canic or SAR, and probably better than a
From
Ruger
this
when it comes
hemisphere.
to triggers. Yeah, exactly. From this hemisphere without the old, whatever your politics are about Turkey. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because there's
exactly.
no reason for you to be denied a good gun now. We said it before, we'll say it again. I won't deny it. We are in the golden age of firearms ownership, purchasing. It's getting better and better as years go by because
I'm gonna say
manufacturing
a
has become
golden
less
age.
expensive.
I'm gonna say 8 because I
A
don't want to
golden
say
age.
like there's the last one or anything, but we've had them before, and I agree. Like there's been times where ammo's been cheap. There was the times when like all
Hmm.
kinds of AR accessories were being made, and now we're in the era of like CCW guns
Man,
essentially. Well, actually, we're in the
with
era of a bunch of different
CCW,
things being made
yeah,
as well.
CCW, we have 3D printing, we have
Right,
CNC
night
machines.
millimeter,
All of that is
nine
making it less
millimeter
expensive,
pistol rifle things like
less
the little
expensive to build
PDQs.
guns. Well, it's
Yeah,
less expensive to build firearms now.
for sure. Yeah, to develop them and then have them actually made. Yeah. And
So
there's a
now
reason
that's
to
to
do it.
our
You
advantage.
couldn't, even if it was cheap in the 80s or in the 90s, it doesn't mean people were into guns. Now everybody can carry who
Hmm.
wants to carry essentially. And if you can't, you could probably figure out a way to carry with somebody else's permit or something. So there's, anytime you travel or something, you can carry. So way more people have the opportunity than ever before. So we don't, we're already taking that for granted, but some people have just grown up, become gun owners in this environment. And so, yeah, if you're going to develop a new gun, there's somebody to sell it to now. I'm talking to
Oh
the
yeah.
guy from 30 Super Carry. I don't know if you talked to that guy, Chris. If you've
No, actually, I did an interview with Rob over there at 30 Super Carry. Rob Pincus.
right, right. So Chris is the guy from Federal that developed it or whatever, that's running the department or whatever you want to say, like heading it at
Oh yeah.
Federal. So I'll give you that guy's
Yep.
name. I'll be talking to him on Monday and essentially chatting about the cartridge itself. But essentially, that's I'm a big fan of development of stuff, and I like ammo, and I think there's an element to it where generations want their own thing, and at some point, people are going to
Hmm.
get sick. I keep saying it, but at some point, people are going to get sick of that stupid 9 millimeter. It's a little dumb caliber. It's super difficult and tedious to reload, and from everybody gets mad about boomer stuff. This is from like our boomers' grandparents. I think it's like in the old days. So it's a super old
I do have
caliber.
to laugh at that. Don't call it's okay, boomer. 1908, bro.
Yeah,
Nine
seriously.
millimeter was developed in 1908.
And they run around like it's the perfect caliber. It's the perfect caliber. Like, no, it ain't. It's just a caliber. And it's just a caliber that was the default because at the time it was either 38 or 45 or 380, right? So anyway,
Hmm.
but that's the same thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of just well, anyway, we were talking about the development of firearms and stuff being cheaper than ever. But yeah, and then I think you got the with 3D printing is a great example. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Once the frame exists,
Mm-hmm.
somebody already scanned a Glock frame, so now you can remove all the stuff you don't want, and now you have a skeleton of all the internal dimensions of the Glock. But the outside is up to you. It's a creative, and now people don't need to start from zero and figure out how to take a micrometer and a ruler to a Glock and try to figure it out backwards. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
already did all that, and you can just literally start with the pieces that allow you to move on to just the creative part. And that's an example of standing on other people's shoulders. That's happening faster and faster. So if somebody's going to develop a new pistol, not only do they have an people they can depend on or get information from on the technical side of it, but just in the market. They've already seen this fail, this succeed, that succeed. I mean, it's way more possible to make a winning product now if you're paying attention than
Mm-hmm.
ever because
I
there's more stuff.
100% believe it because they broke the code. They broke the code on how to do a lot of this stuff. So,
Perfect way to say it. Yeah.
anyway, had a good one. Yeah, somebody asked if does Versa make revolvers?
Yeah,
No, but SAR makes revolvers, which is a Turkish company. And they make revolvers, and I saw them at the Great American Outdoor Show. And I was talking about getting one of theirs in because their MSRP is like $600 for pretty much a Smith & Wesson clone. So I was over there during that show with them, discussing with them what I do at the diversity shoots and the fact that since I'm encouraging people to get involved in different types of shooting sports to get their guns out and use them so it becomes something other than something in the sock drawer or something that you might carry. I'm like, cool, that's one gun. That's your carry gun. Let's compete with that. But if you can afford another gun, because we all know as gun people that if you start using them, if you start shooting them, if you get involved in the community and the fellowship of firearms ownership, you're going to get another Glock. You're going to get another pistol. Because you're going to have a reason to. Somebody's going to give you one. If it's just you saw theirs and it was kind of cool. I'm
And then
trying to
once
build
you
this community.
understand what things are, and you go, somebody gives you a $600 gun for $300. Even if you don't love that gun, you're going to be like, I understand a good deal, and I know I'm going to be able to trade this or get some use out of it, and it's a super bargain, so I'm going to buy it. So you will accumulate once you just become familiar with the realm, right? And that'll happen with a
I'll hold
motorcycle,
on to this and sell it
pottery
later.
wheel, or the old VCR. Like you just know when something's a great deal, even if it's not the thing you're looking for. I mean, unless you're the type that's doing that, but I'm not. Like if I see something that isn't exactly what I'm looking for, but I know it's a massive deal, I'm buying it. But anyway,
hold on.
So going back, since Woods asked some questions, since I interrupted.
Okay. One thing though, they have a monolith, global ordnance. Global Ordnance and Primary Weapons System developed something called the monolith. Semi-automatic rifle looks a little bit like the SCAR, but instead of having a folding stock, it has a folding receiver. And that's a big deal to me.
Anymore. We're talking about a rifle now.
We're talking about a rifle now, getting from this company. Also, Foxtrot Mike works with them, and it's called the monolith. And the receiver folds just like a stock would fold, except scooch forward about 2 inches, and it's not the stock. You can detach the stock. You can put any kind of stock you want on because it doesn't have a buffer. It's piston operated. But that means it's Jersey legal to have a folding receiver instead of a folding stock. So I spoke to them and I was like, I don't know what it will take. This is who you need to speak to in the state police to see if you can get that in the state because it's not a folding stock. Now it can't have the adjustable stock on it, but it can have a folding receiver.
Well, the thing is, their worry about a folding stock is that it's operable in a folded state because they think that is somehow dangerous. You can have a pistol, well, no, you probably can't have a pistol, but somehow they see a folded stock as being more dangerous than an extended stock. But since the law is you can't have a folding stock, if you fold something else, then that's compliant. That's excellent. Did they make it to comply, or did it just happen to fit for that circumstance?
It just happened to fit. I was over there talking to them. You know, a lot of guys don't speak to the manufacturers or even
Right.
look for loopholes. And I'm one as an
If you're not
activist
being
that's looking
stepped
for
on,
a
you
way to
don't
stay.
know. I mean, it's not your fault, I guess. But
Yeah,
if you're not paying attention and nobody urges you to be aware of what other people are getting stepped on, then yeah, you don't realize how some. Like, I don't realize until I start talking to you and Toby and others that are constant. I knew it from California, but everybody kind of takes it for granted that California is stepped on. But anyhow, sorry. But so this looks like a scar.
yeah, yeah. No, it's always, yeah, it looks like a scar. Always looking for a way to step around the state and their bullcrap. So yeah, it's a state of mind kind of thing. And I'm like, heck yeah, let's get this done. Let's get this in Jersey. So that's one thing I'm working on, and they're going to send me something else too. But to me, that was important. Is to, I don't say, not violate the law, but use the loopholes in it to show people how ridiculous it is. So that was, those are some of the things I did with that company as Shot.
I'm just over here looking at that caliber that 500 is talking about, but I don't like to say loophole, because loophole implies that you're getting around something. You're in compliance, and the law is poorly written. So when it's written bad and you're complying with the poorly written law, you're just in compliance. But I think that does the same thing you're talking about. It accomplishes showing how stupid ass the law is. And it's like that meme where there's a fence across a path in the middle of a field with a new path going on both sides of the gate, because it's just a gate and a path in the middle of a field. So there's just like a rut in the grass where people went around the gate, obviously, to keep going down the path they wanted to go down. And it's exactly the same thing. And they want to have an all-encompassing fence around every single person, put us in prison in order to save us from just this one evil thing. And it's ridiculous. And we need to not only comply like that, by just creating a new path, but to show how ridiculous it is, but also so that we can enjoy doing what we need to do. Because again, they're just trying to do this to score political points. We don't have to stop.
Yeah, that's nothing to do with safety.
Political points, exactly.
And I think that would, it would still be a problem. I'd still fight against it. But it's like, bro, you're not even telling the truth a little. Like, it's everything comes out of your mouth is a lie. So that was Shot. We got some questions.
This one is just from 500 saying about ammo. I wanted to learn more about guns. I came across a caliber called the 4.6 by 30, which I've never heard of. Anyone know what it is? It's basically a 5.7. It's not quite a 5.7 because the 5.7 has a bigger bullet even, but it's essentially like a 5.7. It was made for this little H&K PDW. The idea, same as the P90, that if you're in a tank or if you're in a building or something, usually your option is get rid of your long gun or put your long gun in a rack over there by the door and have a pistol. So they wanted to give people who are in these positions where they might need something more than a pistol, but don't want to lug it around. And then for, I don't know, SWAT teams and stuff potentially, but really it's debatable there. But so essentially it was designed to be a PDW, a small carbine, smaller than a carbine, more useful than we would have called it a submachine gun back in the day, I guess, right? But
yeah, they said it's not happening now. HK is never going to import that into the country. So what Palmetto State did was develop their own version of it in 5.7. So that's one of the things Palmetto debuted over at Shot was their MP7 that we got at home clone, and they're going to produce it 5.7 since the ammo is more readily available.
And when HK develops stuff, they don't care about civilian markets like at all.
Not at all.
Right. So they were building it because they knew whoever bought it would pay for the facilities to make a new piece of ammo. And I've never looked into it to know if it's a new piece of ammo that needed to exist or if they just weren't going to use a 5.7 because somebody else came up with the 5.7, right?
I don't know which reason. I know it was developed as a PDW, same way the 5.7 was.
I guess
it was developed
up with the 5.7. So Yeah,
Hmm.
they're not going to use FN's cartridge.
Yeah, actually, they came up with them at the same time, except
Oh, they
FN
did.
found a civilian market. Yeah, FN found a civilian market, and HK didn't give a crap about a civilian market.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense then. So they
It's for
probably
peace.
were checked in the same contract or something. They said, "Hey, we want this little tiny
Yep.
bullet," and blah blah blah. So they each made their own version. Okay, that makes sense.
Hmm.
First time I shot it was at Shot. They'll have other shoots, and back in the day when I was interested to go into those more, you can get to a military type of shoot where it's just military guns and there's no cameras at them, so a lot of people don't go to them because there's no point if you're trying to get footage. But it was a year that I was just
Hmm.
interested in experiencing stuff, so I went to a military shoot and I got to shoot one of those, whatever that is, a P7. What is it called? The H and
Yeah.
K gun that goes around that.
MP7. Yeah.
MP7. So it was years ago. But it was fun to shoot or whatever. I do have one from that shoot. They let me keep one. So I just thought of it as a neat little 5.7 alternative. But at the time, it was, I don't want to call it vaporware because they existed. It's just that no one was ever going to. It's not like, even if the military buys it, they're not issuing those to anybody hardly. Like, they might buy them, but they're not, some people are going to get, but it's going to be like protection, Secret Service and shit like that. Like nobody else is going to, or, maybe the elite teams or
Which is
something.
always hilarious because PDWs were developed. And if we can go back to what's recognized by some as the first PDW, was the M1 carbine. M1 carbine was built as a replacement for the 1911 and handguns by personnel that did things like drivers, artillerymen, mortarmen. To give yourself something that weighs about 5 pounds that takes less training than to shoot a handgun well to longer distances. I mean, truthfully, you're not hitting much with the crap training they give you in the military with a handgun beyond bad breath distance. But with an M1, you can throw it in your shoulder. M1 carbine, you can throw it in your shoulder and tag somebody pretty easily out to 100 yards with minimal effort and training.
It's
Well, of
essentially a lever
course.
action.
What was that?
Kind of
What was that?
essentially the role of the old lever action. It's like you can have it, keep it
You
around
had a lot of rounds. Yeah,
person.
it was less than a full. It was less than a full rifle round, but more than a handgun round. And but special forces guys, airborne guys, all of them were like, "Hey, this works pretty good for what we needed to work for." All of a sudden, it was like, "Yeah, truckers, yeah, you get relegated to an M1903 Springfield because the airborne unit took all those M1s." So now you're trying to get out of a deuce and a half with a freaking a bolt action as long as your leg. But
Yeah,
yeah, so when
but that's what happens
PDWs are
because
developed,
nobody like knows it ahead of time. It just happens that way. I think
yeah, it's
it's
like, hey, you designed it for this, but
30 carbine on the right, 5.7 in the middle, and that one we're talking about on the left. So they're all littler
yep,
than the carbine you're talking about.
yeah, 30
But where this
carbine was supposed to be.
this thing took this amount of powder to push this thing and get it into something, where this is like an ice pick, and this one's somewhere in between. But a lot less uh, effort to push this into something. Plus, it's going super fast because it's so little compared to that. I bet you this has got way
Yeah, what
straighter
does a 30 carbine hits with some authority within 100? I mean, it's more than a 357 round, but it's nowhere near a rifle round. But that's not why it was developed.
Oh, just like what you said, this is like distance across the yard, distance down the street, distance, 100 yards,
Mhm.
feet. But
So when the mortar crew gets snuck up on, they can lay down their own base of fire and defend themselves.
and honestly, and most of the time, people don't know what they're getting shot at with. So something,
Mm-hmm.
and if it's a person just
Taking
standing
rounds.
there that doesn't wear an armor, this is all super lethal. We're talking like armor
Exactly.
stuff, but whatever. But
So they developed the 5.7 and the 4.6 for Soviet forces that may have gone behind enemy lines, our lines, NATO, and look for soft targets like artillery units, missile units, and this gives them the ability to pierce body armor with a full auto submachine gun, in essence, the PDW. Oof. I just had to ice my knee because it's still banged up. If you guys have seen my shot show video of me rolling the falling off the electric scooter.
So you got your knee hurt at work before you came out, but
Hmm.
then a while before work, and then you had to get you were trying to get some attention to it before you went out to shot. Did you say you were able to, or you weren't able to?
Yeah, I was able to get my first for shot show. I got a cortisone shot. Um, it took it from a 10, 10, 11 in pain to like an 8. So my
And
leg was
is
really
that
hurting the
putting
entire
something like
time.
is that squirting something into between the bones physically, or is that just like
Yeah,
general
that
pain or whatever?
it's something that supposedly killed the pain in my leg. It took it down a little bit, but it didn't kill it. And then they have injections that I started in February. Supposed to get 3 of them. My third one is in a couple of days, and that supposedly puts some space between my knees, the bones, because that's what it is. They're touching bone on bone. And I mean, I was in a lot of pain at shot, and still in that pain at the Great American Outdoor Show. And now I just came back from this trip to Orlando, and that was waking me up at night. But it feels better. I was icing it, and I was taking pills regularly, so it's gotten better. I just can't wait till I can just be me again and start working out.
I hear that. So that seems like a lot of yeah, a lot of strain on it or whatever, stress on it. You were walking on it the whole time at Great American and at the
Nope.
uh,
Great American, I rented a scooter again,
oh, okay.
and I just drove around Great American on a scooter almost the entire time. Walked, even though these places are hilarious, they have you. They somehow put where you have to pick up the carts far away from where you enter the building, so you have to walk to it, pick up your cart, ride around on it all day, and then walk back.
So you're still getting some walking in.
So I got some walking in, which is still good. And then when I went down to Orlando, the place is huge, but they had golf cart or multi-person golf cart. I was able to drive around from point A to point B, so I only had to walk into the classes.
Oh, okay.
So I did a lot of traveling the first 2 months of this year, more than usual. But I think they were all well thought out as far as the advantages that we get for the funding that I had to use to get there.
So let's talk about the well, it's called the Ambassador Academy, but it's at that Waft or whatever, right?
Yes.
So how was that? You flew down there?
Okay. Yeah, give some backstory if people don't know who does. Diana Mueller, competition shooter, retired Tulsa police officer, Second Amendment advocate, started the DC Project, which has since changed its name to Women for Gun Rights. Um, she had her organization that sends one woman from each state to Washington, D.C. to talk to their representatives. And then they also have a woman like from each county going to their state and talking to their state representatives inside the state. She started something called the Ambassador Academy, which was to teach and train people in different aspects of the firearms industry to be ambassadors to the Second Amendment and how to speak, how to. So the academy was set up at WAFT, which is a amazing training facility down in Orlando or outside of Orlando, Florida. And at that training facility, they teach a lot from medical to close combat to how to work social media, how to give interviews to press, not only friendly press, but hostile press, and how to make presentations. And then they bring in a professional photography team, and the photography team does your headshots, professional headshots for you, and then takes you out and does also photos, action photos if you're in class, things like that, so you can have stuff for your websites or your posters or whatever you do. You have professional photos that were taken well and edited. So it's a whole thing. It's a 5-day class. I think it's done once a year. And they invite just a handful of people down. I don't even think we had 20 people. Was it four, four, and three? Yeah, I think it was, yeah, four, four, and three. So 11 or 12 people were in this group. But they had like the NSSF was there, Justin talking about social media and how to use that. We had Beth there from she's the social media person for
Yes,
Women for
CCA.
Gun Rights.
Oh, you're
No,
talking
no,
about
no, not that Beth, not Beth Alcazar. No, I just forgot Beth's last name, but she was a sweetheart. So we had some really good instructors. It was it was definitely worth it if you explored everything. And I tried to, of course, if I'm going to have the time away from work and the funding that it took to get there, I'm putting everything into learning as much as I can, networking as much as I can, because I feel that's my duty. And it was great. Um, I posted my CQB because they give you a choice whether you want to use a weapon in CQB. Actually, they didn't give me a choice. They have UTM guns that shoot the rubber UTM bullets, so it operates just like a real handgun, except it fires these things at pretty high velocity. So you call your hits. This is not like airsoft or even paintball. And they asked, "Did you carry every day?" It was me and Alicia, Boomstick Babe, if you know her from online IG. We both said we carried, so they gave us a modified Glock that we carried into the scenarios. And I navigated through the scenarios without ever having to pull out a handgun because I can walk away. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a confrontation if you don't choose it. If you can avoid one, avoid it. So that's what I do. So I'm waiting outside for the third iteration, and they have a staff member outside with us. And I was like, well, the next one, he's going to actually make me shoot. And the lady was like, not necessarily. I'm like, I would, because he's got to push my buttons to see how I react with a firearm on me, if I can get it out, if I can hit a target, and under what circumstances, and when would I pull. So if you check out my Instagram, you can see it. And I ended up pulling when I was actually faced with two attackers with knives. And I thought it was hilarious because I didn't make a conscious plan. I just went with the things I've already thought of as a firearms instructor and as somebody that listens to Self Defense Gun Stories podcast, which I'm also a co host. But it's one of those things where you think about your self defense when you're in situations. Well, this whole scenario was built to put you in a self defense situation. So my mind went there, and nothing was a conscious thought that I went through. It was all, I've already thought about it. I already had those, that flow chart laid out in my mind. If this happens, this happens. If this happens, this happens. So there was no indecisiveness. It was just walked in the dark, by the way. So we had to use flashlights. I walked into the building that they had set aside for training. I turned on my flashlight as I went through the door. The scenario is I'm walking to my car to go home at the end of the day. And a guy approaches me, and they have a whole shoot suit on with a helmet in the face, so you can't hurt them. And the guy has a knife openly carrying in his hand, coming at me like Jason Voorhees. They're like, there is no choice. I pull the firearm, and he drops the knife immediately. He was told to drop the knife immediately by the scenario when they set up the scenario.
Is this the right one?
So I have what was that?
I got the right one up
Hello?
here. Is this the right one?
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
You're gonna play it, or you want me to go through it and then you can play it?
It's playing. Oh, you mean to put the audio on?
Yeah.
How do you? I'm going to try to make it go from the beginning. Let me go back. This is when
Okay.
your hair's
I curse in this. So if you're at work, I said bad words. If you got your kids, I said bad words. I'm warning.
That's a pretty indicator, right? So you just yep.
Is there any way to make it bigger on Instagram?
Shit. I love when he does that. When he makes it.
Just do it.
Close up of it. Yeah. It's like, the one thing I have to in here. It's got to be there.
Hey, what's up, Mom? I have no idea.
Yep. You good? Oh, shit! Well, it's gonna be a real bad day for you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Why don't you get on your fucking knees?
Hold on. I can't. I messed it up.
Get on your knees! Whoa! Your friend? Get on your knees, motherfucker! That's not real. I said, yeah, really? We're gonna do this. I'm supposed to do a little too? Call 911! Call the police! Let's call the police! Do you hear me? You about to catch it too? Oh, fucking cops, bitch. Shot the fuck out of them. Get away from me. Hello, 911? Yeah!
Yeah, some authority. Get on your knees. I almost got on my knees.
I love.
So keep going.
No, that was it. That was it when he called Sing. There's not much to see unless you go to my IG. You can probably see it better.
Yeah, it's too small on the screen here.
Yeah, I was unaware that I cursed that much, which was funny in the aftermath because I decided to treat this as a serious training incident and talk like I would if I was on the street and someone was doing something corny. I got aggressive with it because that's how I do. I live in Jersey. You do not play around here. We got Newark, we got Camden, we have jacked up cities, and I've done work in them all as my job as a locksmith, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So when they say don't go to stupid places at stupid times with stupid people, as a locksmith, that's pretty much my job description because somebody's just locked in, lost their keys, or got fired. So I'm around all three. So anyway, when I walked in, the guy comes at me like a zombie with a knife in his hand. I didn't know I was channeling Samuel L. Jackson and Denzel Washington in Training Day. But I told him to get on his knees so he was no longer mobile. When he's on his knees, he'd have to get up. I would see that. You know what I mean? That extra movement it required for someone to get on their feet.
I'm guessing
And he
you
dropped the
probably
knife.
hear that on a weekly basis. I don't have no idea how often that happens, but I'm guessing you hear that more often than a regular person who's not hanging around.
What's that?
Well, just I'm sure the guards tell
I'll get
people
on you.
that once in a while.
Well, what you do is when you go into that situation, yeah, you get them off their feet. They're easier to control when they're off their feet. Also, the training I've taken and the training I've hosted all say that if you get them off their feet, they can't move as quickly. It gives you more of a reaction gap. And my job was not to arrest this dude. If he was the only one in that scenario, my next move was to get in the vehicle and leave. Like, I'm not here to, I'm not a deputy. You tried to rob me. You threw the knife down. I pulled the gun. I'm out. Well, then I run into the second guy who's waiting to ambush me on the other side of the vehicle. Well, I already had the firearm out. I put the flashlight on him. He had his knife out. And I told him immediately to drop it. And his response was, "That's not a real gun and you won't shoot me," as he's pivoting towards me. Well, I'm not playing because I know how fast you can close a gap with a knife. I put 5 rounds in him right along his side. I stitched him up one side completely. Then when I spun around, I made sure I didn't take my eye off the other guy. I shifted because now it's a 180-degree shift almost. I made sure my back was against the wall, but I shifted. And as I did, I noticed I had a double feed and the gun was inoperable. Well, I couldn't let them see that. That's when I went, oh, King Kong ain't got nothing on me. I'm tired of all these snakes on this mother effing plane. And I started using my voice to try to intimidate and keep them off balance. And then they sent a third person in, the lady, and I didn't know whether she was going to attack me or not because she came at me aggressively asking me, did I shoot these people? So that was the whole background behind that. And I dissected it in my head, that night, what I did wrong, what I did right. And I was able to critique myself. And I talked to the guy who ran the scenarios, and he was like, we got some valid points. But we talked about it afterwards, why I did what I did and what was my option. So then 2 days later, when we went to the range, he had me practicing that double feed, clearing that double feed that I experienced in training to see how quickly I can clear that double feed strip a mag, clear the double feed, put the mag back in, and get back on target.
Are these
6 seconds.
simunitions that you're using or something else?
We were using simunitions at the CQB training. I was using live ammo. Well, started off with dummy ammo at the range and then switched to live ammo. But I
Okay.
was right in a way. It took 6 seconds to clear this thing and get the gun back up to fire. I didn't
So
have 6 seconds.
simunitions are regular guns, but they have different actions and different barrels. Well, the different same actions, but they have the different barrel and a different magazine. Well, sometimes the magazine's pretty similar, but essentially they've got a narrow or way narrow where they're shooting a little paintball thing. It's not really. It's like a little cage, but essentially they're shooting a dart of paint at somebody that comes out with some amount of force. It's like a paintball or like a big BB gun hitting you, but it cycles and everything in the gun on paper. But in reality, they malfunction way more than a regular gun just because they're
Way more.
So that's the thing is you're going to get, and nobody cares because you'd rather practice malfunctions in that situation than have a perfectly operable tool that is magically operable. Your regular gun is never going to fail as much as this, unless you shoot 90mm. But right, like it's going to malfunction all the time. So that's why I was just curious if it was something that they were inducing malfunctions in, or if it's just the simulation rounds themselves will just because they're kind of funky.
Yeah,
it's just like nose that can bend and they just malfunction and just naturally, especially if you got gloves.
Yeah,
and stuff
that double fed. It double fed badly, dude. I mean, badly. It looked like a collection of brass. Now, understand, I'm seeing this under the flashlight in my hand in the dark in a scenario where I'm sidestepping.
Where people are yelling at you and doing shit shady, yeah.
People yelling. And also, I got this jacked up knee, and the floor in this place is carpet because it's built, for you to take falls and hits. So it's not even solid. So every step, I'm in pain. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I'm a tough guy. It's just you have something else going on in your head, taking 100% attention off. You know what I mean? So my whole thing was make good moves. And I did not know what the woman was going to do, if she was going to attack me, because he was trying to push my buttons. Again, this was the third scenario. Each scenario was totally different. But he was trying to get a feel of the type of person I am so you can run the next scenario and push your buttons. And of course, one of my buttons is like hitting a woman. But I'm like, if she would have come at me, again, this is part of scenario training. What do I do when my firearm really doesn't work and I got someone being aggressive? After witnessing me shoot 2 people, she's still approaching me in an aggressive manner. Then she must be in on it. Because I have no idea what they briefed them to do, before the scenario.
So that's what I was going to ask. So there's lots of different ways to run force on force and lots of philosophies and stuff, over the years, just probably comes from cops and military, then gets out to civilian. And now that there's so much civilian stuff, who knows where all the influences and where the different stuff originates. But it looks like just from that video, it looks like somebody was filming that from like stadium seats up above the room. So I'm assuming the rest of the class is watching each person's scenario. Okay, because I've been to places where they encourage that. They in fact restrict that. They don't allow that because they don't want people to game it. Or at least I won't get into that. But I've been to schools where I've, as a filmer, I've asked them, hey, can I go watch these? And they're like, yeah, but you're not going to be able to take the class. Like, if you can either take the class or not, but we don't want people gaming the scenarios, essentially, is the way they described it, but there's more to it. But anyway, that was one question. It sounds like they definitely have the class watch each other then, run through the scenarios.
Yeah, but every scenario is different, so there is no gaming it. Because, again, they've been doing this for over a decade. So they have all of that experience of different ways, different things, obstacles, situations. So, I mean, there's always a way to game something, but what are you getting out of it?
Exactly, because then you're just doing something different. You're not experiencing, you're playing a game and you're doing it a little bit different than what you could. And it depends on the instructor, too. Some instructors don't care. They just want you to learn the tactics of it, so they'd rather watch 6 iterations of whatever it is, the candy store encounter or the gas station encounter, whatever they're calling it. But then other ones want you to I've been to some force on forces where if there's 10 scenarios, 8 of them are, you shouldn't have pulled a gun. What the hell are you doing? Because they know
Mm-hmm.
everybody there is trying to pull a gun all the time. So they think it's some kind of pull the gun adventure. So when they're really teaching you force on force, like I said, I've seen 80%. Now in that same class where 80% to one guy was probably
Mm-hmm.
40% to another person because that person wasn't going to pull a gun every 5 seconds. And then there's probably some people
Yep.
where 80% of the time they needed to pull a gun because they're so hesitant to pull a gun, they're never going to pull a gun and they're going to get killed all the time. So anyway, that's the next
Yeah.
question. Was the scenarios to the person, like were they coming at you a little like in
Yep.
the street? The people would come to you aren't the same people that are going to beat up an old lady. People that are coming to you are coming to you. Like they're going to come to you with a couple of people and they're like, they're not just
Exactly.
like the first time they mug somebody, they're going to pick on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the first one was one of the distraction guys. Hey, are you Rick? You know my friend Rick? I'm looking for Rick. He was supposed to. Well, I've seen that here, and that was the distraction. Get close because they told us they'd be armed. And when you're armed and going against a person like me who you think isn't armed, you might think you have an advantage. Had that actually happened to me one day when I was actually moving out of Trenton. I had to go to work, and a guy approached me and tried that. So this was something I'd seen before, and I just used verbal judo. And again, I was armed, but there was no reason to pull the firearm. I kept moving, jumped in the vehicle, simulated driving off. They called scene, and he asked, well, what was going through my mind? And I was like, it wasn't a gun situation. It was a verbal judo, create distance, keep it moving situation. And actually, because I was so aggressive in my speaking manner, I didn't curse at him or anything, but I was aggressive in my speaking manner that I was no longer a victim. He didn't see me as an easy meal. He saw me as a problem. The second
And that's
time,
all you got to do is not be the wounded gazelle, and they're going to move on.
mhm,
They're only looking for the weakest, right, in the herd. They're not looking for any kind
they're
of fight
not looking for a
specifically.
fight. They're not looking for a fight. They're looking
Unless
for
they're looking
distance.
for a fight, and then they're coming after somebody who they're going to hopefully get a fight from, and that's another scenario that I don't know if they run anything like the person you're just going to get into this fight. Like in the Marines, you'd probably get those kind of scenarios. Like
Oh,
there's going to
you're
be
getting into this fight.
no win scenarios or whatever. Right?
Yeah, yeah. There's no good answer. Um, so that was one of them. The other one was a distraction thing. The first one took place, they left the lights on. The second one, they turned the lights out and again simulate and go into your vehicle. And I spoke to a couple that I saw, and they immediately started arguing, almost violently arguing, near the front of my vehicle. And then when I went to walk around the back of the vehicle, another guy stumbled out like, the have you seen my dog kind of, you got a dime something. And I was like, you know what? This is too much. Have a good day. And I turned around and walked out of the room, keeping everybody in, I actually didn't turn around, but I left. I left the scenario because that's way too much going on near my vehicle to walk through. And again, I'm looking at it as real life if I go out to my car and see supposedly two different groups of people doing weird stuff around my vehicle. I'm going back into work. They'll leave sooner or later. So that's what I did. So there wasn't much of he came back and had me do a briefing of why I walked out. And I told him exactly what I just said. It was too busy. There's no reason for us as a regular person to walk through that to get to your car when you just came out of somewhere that didn't have all of that. Go back, wait half hour from now. You can go back out there. Or if you think it's iffy, call the police and say some people are fighting around your car. Outsourcing violence.
And then seriously, that's the best case. That's the best, or that's the kind of best answer. I mean, there might be 100 answers like that, but that's the type of answer that you want from a scenario. Because most people are thinking this is a gun game. I'm going to go figure out the best angle to start shooting guns here.
Mm-hmm. So nope.
Most people, a lot of students.
And I live in Jersey. I also teach classes in Jersey. So my thing, if you can avoid a gunfight, avoid a gunfight. I'll go ahead and put it out there because I can. We've seen what happens depending on your race. no matter how, justified the shooting is, you can become infamous and never be able to have a job again, even if you were right 100%, just based on that, or political motivation of
And what if how
prosecutors,
they spin it?
governors.
How they feel like spinning it? No matter what happens, you know what I mean? Like that's the instance that
Mhm.
somebody's going to use to create their fame and reporting on it, right?
So just walk away if you can. It's not, what is it? It's not, can I use my gun? It is like, can I avoid using my firearm? Like, do I have to use my firearm? Because you're not going to be seen as the hero you think you're going to be by everybody in your circle. And this is from reading books from other law enforcement dudes like Greg Elephants talking about the aftermath, and others talking about the aftermath of the police shooting where the cop was 100% right. But all of a sudden, some of his coworkers aren't speaking to him anymore. Family members aren't speaking to him anymore, even though they did the right thing. I'm like, everything isn't like, your favorite TV show where you're going to get high five for taking out the bad guy. Like, he did awesome.
Or it
It's like,
just
no,
goes
some
away
people,
completely, right?
or I mean, and it gets just things happen. And I don't go for the whole PTSD thing you'll have, because I think Hollywood puts way too much stress on that, and people start to think something's wrong with me because I'm not having nightmares of the self defense shooting. No, logically, people can put it together. My life was at risk, and I did the thing I had to do to defend myself. Doesn't make you a bad person because you don't have bad dreams about it after it's over with. I wanted to throw that out there because I don't think enough people do.
Oh, that's a good point. Um, I wanted to ask what other stuff was going on at the Ambassador Academy then, besides this was like
Okay.
5 days, right? That
Yeah,
was, I'm
this is
assuming, like
five.
a full day, or was just one full
Oh,
day of force on force, or was it more?
no, geez. No, they rotated and sent it out because they kept the groups to four, four, and three. So they were able to personalize every interaction. When we went to the classes on social media, the class was small enough to ask specific questions about your social media and your goals and answer them. When we went to first aid, we went to dirt medicine, teaching you how to, put on tourniquets, stop the flow of blood, stuff a wound, that kind of thing. We were all able to get down and work it and do that, which was awesome. So they kept us rotating from one station to another one in various buildings. Also, photography was a really good one to learn how to take pictures, the basics of taking pictures, how to film video to get the most out of it. A lot of that was there. We had Amanda Suffolcool there from Eye on the Target Radio, talking about your business plans and how to set them up and how to work each aspect of your business, from designing your web page to your overall mission. We had Kellyanne Pigeon there, who's armed and dangerous, but she's also a DC Project lady. She was there talking about communications and how to speak, like depending on what you do in advocacy, how to speak publicly, how to talk to representatives. So those classes went all day for 3 of the 4 days. I mean, those 3 of the 5 days, we were bouncing between those classes. They would, oh, and dang, I forgot Kat's last name, but she used to work for NRA. She was one of the people at NRA with communications and journalism, and she was teaching you how to deal with the press and deal with a hostile press. Each day they presented something different. And because, again, I think by the time we got to the press classes, they'd broken us down into two people at a time. So with two people in the room, she could concentrate on honing you to get better at one-on-one hostile encounters with the press. And I was with a young lady named Olivia, who's a shotgun shooter. You probably met her in the green room. She's a shotgun shooter out of Ohio, and she runs a magazine there for on youth shooting. And it was a hostile
Kid or
press engagement.
she an adult or a
She's
kid?
18 now. She's
Okay, she's
18 now, but she's been a competitive shooter since she was 12. and she's still in high school.
Who were the four
And
people?
pretty much, who were the four people in my group?
Yeah.
We had Kim Swowell. I think that's how to pronounce Kim's last name. Kim, she's the representative for DC Project We're Willing for Gun Rights out of California. I was with Raynell. I'll never get people's last name right, so please forgive me. But she's the head of Utah's Women for Gun Rights. And I had a young lady named Taryn, who is she's not an activist, but she's a model for 511. She's a brand ambassador for Colson and other things. So she does model work. She's a mom. She has 3 kids. And she works in the industry on that side, but they're trying to get her into advocacy. So giving her this training gave her the confidence to step into it and become more active in it. She's using her social media at this time, as part of activism plus content creation. So that's who I was with, and Olivia. Those were in my groups. So
Right
there
on.
are people that are actively in the business. And again, I got to be around some incredible women who I would not have met otherwise. And I think it was awesome. Plus, the head of what do you call it was there, Nebraska Firearms Owners Association, the president of Nebraska Firearms Owners Association, Trish. She was there, so I haven't seen her since I went out to Omaha. So it was great to hang out with her too. It was really a really good thing for advocates and advocacy. And Kevin Dixie has a similar program. And I think these are really worth going to if you get a chance to help develop yourself to the next level of this, to find out, to have outside people critiquing what you're doing, but they're doing it from a professional level with constructive criticism because they want you to succeed.
Are you and Alicia the only two that have been to both?
Yes,
Katie and
Alicia and
this.
I were the only ones.
So then,
Yes, this time.
can you compare them?
You can compare them. Uh, you can compare them, but I don't think you can compare them fairly, if you know what I mean. Like they're similar in overall, if I gave you a breakdown of them, but they had different spirits. If you understand, like um, Kevin Dixie with his same thing, professional development, bringing in people from the industry, but he encourages the people there to not only have a relationship there and collaborate there, but continue the collaborations after they leave. Like that is stressed as like one of the founding tenets of working together after you leave here. And that's not stressed as much as an ambassador academy. Well, I think that's one of the main differences. Also, Kevin doesn't have professional photographers there doing headshots, and doesn't have, because it's 2 teams of photographers at this particular thing for Ambassador Academy. And I think that's some of the expense because you're having professional photos taken, edited, and then sent to you to use. And Kevin is like, take the pictures yourself.
Well, part of it, that's just a difference or whatever, but get into that. I would
Mhm.
imagine some of it is learning. Well, part of it is getting some pictures. I guess there's 3 parts of it. You're getting some pictures out of it that are nice or whatever, but you're going to learn how they set up the cameras and you're going to learn how they set up the lights
Mhm.
and what's done in the process of getting a good picture. And then I'm assuming I don't know if they did makeup or not, but with all the other stuff that they tell
Yep.
you to do to get a good picture, you learn how to make yourself presentable for a good picture, which I've never had any training on or anything other than
Yeah.
going to
So they
like
had.
you're a kid and your mom's like smile.
Yeah. So they had that. I mean, they had a professional instructor on photography, and they had 2 teams of photographers. So if you look at how much that would cost, that's a whole nother added thing. Plus, it's hours out of every day that the photographer Kevin was teaching us all about that. Then he went to the shoots, and he's one of the guys that helped me get my shirt on, get that tiny shirt on that we made a video of.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm
That's
talking
one
about?
of the that's one of the photographers you're saying.
Yeah, that was actually the photography instructor. He was one of the guys there. The other guy was one of the guys that helped us with social media and talking about how you build up a following on social media and what to do with it. but those guys were around for us the entire time.
Well, damn.
So that was
That
pretty
was a
good. Oh
day
yeah,
of hearing
and
what to do with social media, how to make social media, what to do with it. That was a whole day.
oh yeah, that was not a whole day. That was a 2-hour training block twice. We did it one the first day and I think again the second day of different things, breaking it down to specifics. Um, yeah, so there's a lot to learn, and I was glad to be a part of it. I thought it would be weird, having gone through Kevin Dixie's training. I was like, well, what is this going to do? And I took it as a learning opportunity, regardless. Like I'm going to absorb everything here, and I was able to absorb a lot of
Sorry, I'm watching the video where they're trimming the shirt on you. So,
it. So that was great. Um,
that's bigger
Anthony
people.
Calandro, from Guns for Higher Range launched a thing talking to Second Amendment heavy hitters in New Jersey this year. That was his thing. So he set it up. And while talking to Teresa Einacker of the New Jersey contingent of Women for Gun Rights, he said, I'll donate $500 to Women for Gun Rights if you can get Tony Simon to a crop top and I could get pictures of it for the internet. So they sent me an extra large t-shirt. So what I tried to do was drag it out. I took a picture of me throwing it down and I said, coming soon. And I posted that like 2 weeks ago. And then I did another thing and I posted it when I got to WAFT of the video talking about let's go. And while we were doing the photo shoot with the headshots, I thought it was as good a time as any to actually get this thing on me. And I was like, we got to make it look as difficult as possible with me getting this thing on. Well, let's just say it started out as acting. Yeah, we got to pretend this is really tough. Yeah, bro, I wear a 6X. Getting an extra large on was like trying to put skin on a friggin' put skin on a grape. But he immediately sent $500 to Women for Gun Rights on their website. I thought it was really cool.
Right on. So they're having a debate on the comments here. We're about an hour in. I'm going to say, I was going to ask you more questions on the training as far as when you go in, do they give you like a booklet or any kind of like manual, or do you get any kind of paperwork, or is it like, do they encourage you to take notes, or how is this, or like a gift bag? Like, what's the situation like with, I don't know what to call that, like, the accessories or the inconsequential or whatever that's called, like
Oh,
the other
okay.
stuff that's involved. Like, are you coming home with a
Hello?
bunch of merch? Yeah.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're here.
Am I here?
Yeah.
All right. No,
All right.
I adjusted my headset and I hit the mute button.
Uh,
I got a small swag bag with a t-shirt, Ambassador Academy shirt. They provided a flashlight from Streamlight, one of their 1Ls, Streamlight ProTac 1L. So it holds a 1AA battery or a 123 CR123. That's what I got in my bag. So we didn't get and we got a training booklet with the Constitution in it and something else from Women for Gun Rights. I never even bothered opening it because I brought my own paper to take notes. And I was trying to take copious notes. And if not take notes, I use my video on my phone to record, things that are being said. I have to go through all that now so I can delete that video and create more space on my phone. But I thought I'd probably just make an album and put all that stuff in the album and then save it to the cloud.
was there kind of the other side of that? Was there like a to bring list? Like, was it a Did you have a
No,
certain amount of stuff to bring that they required you to bring along?
no, they didn't require me to bring anything, but having gone to classes before, I wanted to make sure I had the means to take notes, means to get information in, um, because it only makes sense. Regardless of the class, I try to take notes. Self defense class, I try to take notes, all of it, because you're not going to remember everything. If it's a good class, it's drinking from a garden hose, and you want to get as much as you can out of it.
That's what I kind of was wondering. I guess what am I to call that? Like lesson plans or learning? I don't know what they call that, but that's what I was kind of wondering is because if it sounds like for 5 days, I mean, even if it was a kind of a moderate pace of learning, after 5 days, you're going to forget whatever happened on day one. That's why I was wondering if they gave you some kind of, or I guess in 2024, there's no
Hello?
point in printing anything. My
Okay, there
mind is
you are. Yeah.
okay.
I realized something. I was wondering why there was a delay because of the delay. Yeah, so I brought notes to take notes. It's worthwhile. You said there's a debate going in the comment section.
I think it's more just the fact. I don't know if I'm breaking up. I'm closing all my windows right now. I think it's more of just the situation when you're trying to type back and forth, right, and doing the limited number of characters that are there. I think it could be summarized with New York saying, "I'm all about spreading the word, but I'm not interested trying to convince people." I think what Sharon was saying earlier, if I'm reading it correctly, the back and forth,
No.
what Sharon was saying earlier was when we have people who are in the spotlight who are poor at representing Second Amendment issues, and maybe just I'm going to put words in
Hmm.
her mouth now, but just do the typical "my rights, my property." We're not moving the playing field. We're not moving the ball,
Hmm.
and that's where it's hurting our situation because of the lost opportunity, or just the
Yeah.
confrontation. If they're just confrontational, the people on the other side who are confrontational are going to step up, and they're just going to be confrontational. If we present people the new the new era of Second Amendment activists who represent who who should be getting more representation, but who are our newer representatives are now coming up with not collaborative, that's a bad word, uh, awareness and an actual insight to our plight, and that's bringing out more conversations with people rather than just arguments with people. I think that's,
Yeah.
maybe
And
I'm
and I agree with her. I agree with her. Look, everything isn't for everybody. Everything isn't for everybody. You can train people. You can be that guy that teaches people how to shoot and introduce them to firearms. Doesn't mean you're the guy that needs to be on the welcoming team. Doesn't mean you need to be the guy on the debate team. This is all broken down. At least that's the way we're looking at it now. You can have your opinion. You can say cold dead hands. Just avoid debates. Just avoid the debates because you're not going to win. You're yelling at somebody and you're not explaining things to them. You're not going to see things their way, which you don't have to, but you're not going to persuade them either. You may just turn off more people by calling people libtards and telling them how stupid they are. Well, now you're just angry. You're not helping. What we're trying to do is actually get conversation going, if not with the idiot who's making the dumbest comments ever online. Nobody needs a gun and that kind of thing. I'm not talking to that person because that person's not going to wake up until they're a victim of a crime, and even then, they still might not. Talking to the other people.
and there's definitely a difference between doing it your way and doing it a way that's, I don't know what the word is, not like standard, I guess, because everybody's off standard to some extent, and the more
Mhm.
variation you have, the more people are going to have to look past that. So just in order to clear up the message, so that let's say you had really long hair, and you don't know the person you're talking to gives a shit about hair or not, and you don't care. So now you're there with the long hair. Well, if that's an issue to a whole group of people, I'm just picking on long-haired people, but you may be shooting 9mm. That's something easier to pick on that nobody can be upset about. So let's say you shoot 9mm and you stand there saying something, and some people are like, I'm not going to listen to anybody who shoots 9mm. They make poor decisions. That's all we're talking about. Put the 9mm aside and just sit there and state the position. You don't have to put on 45 ACP if you can't handle it, if you don't want to act like you're putting on a fake facade or something, but you can just leave stuff out of it. There was something else that was said that I'm going to mention. When you went, did you have a chance to walk around last year at the rally here in Arizona?
Before the rally, I walked around and looked at the stuff and talked to the guys there.
Would you say
That's
there
what I
was
meant.
a religious element to it or no?
Let me see. We had a couple of those. I mean, I didn't feel it was overwhelming.
I mean, it wasn't overwhelming or nothing this year, but I noticed it this year. And I don't remember even what they were, but it was like, well, that's fairly religious thing. And there might even have been an abortion thing. And I know that that's one of those things that I could easily say, leave that shit at home. Like, we're here to talk about guns.
Yep.
And when you bring other divisive shit up, I don't give a shit which way you think about it. There's going to be somebody who hates the other way. You know what I mean? Like, it just brings another thing to the table. And that's where I'm wondering, it's kind of like the gun show thing. Like, people are, it's like there's no winning. If you're trying to put on a gun show, you can't bring just all 100% awesome, cheap. Every time you walk down the tables, it's getting cheaper and cheaper. Ammo is cheapest and cheaper. Like, you can't make the best gun show, so you have to do something. And if there's 100 tables at that gun show and you've only sold 25 or 75 of them, and somebody's like, hey, I'd like to sell whatever, candles or whatever the thing is. Nobody likes beef jerky. I guess some people don't care about the beef jerky, but whatever it is, plates or jewelry or something. Why is that at the gun show? Well, because they needed to sell some tables, and somebody might buy this thing, and those people were willing to pay $50 and make the gun show happen. There's some of that you gotta understand, but at the same time, if it's, if you're going to sell a table to the Brady campaign, well, you know what I mean? Did you have to sell that table to that person?
So I saw that last year, and again, it wasn't overwhelming, so I didn't care, but I know, and it's somebody who works to bring people into the community that aren't standard or whatever you want to call it, traditional gun owners. As long as you're not overbearing, listen, grow up. There are people here of a different religion than you. Just as long as they're not there bashing other people, guess what? This is America. You're going to have different opinions. You're going to have different things. But you just can't whip up on people with your different thing. And yeah, the abortion thing is annoying because that's not even on the subject. That's like bringing somebody with Tourette's in to have a debate. I'm like, no, dude, you're just a distraction. There's nothing here you can do. Don't come here for your base. We're trying to put things together, not tear things apart. This is Second Amendment only. So yeah, they had like Retro Rifle there. That's where I met them for the first time. Cool. I understand why their product is there. They had guys or ladies that make jewelry out of bullets. Got why you're there. Armor. Got why you're there. Other groups like who was there last year?
Some lawyers, the gun shop.
Yeah.
Some insurance.
So all of that's understandable.
Motorcycle insurance. Yeah. It's like, okay, you're here at motorcycle rally, you're going to have motorcycle insurance. That makes sense.
But then when you have that, I'm like, yo, get the flock out of here with that, dude. That's going to turn people off regardless. Like, there is no win for us with that there. You want to have other political issues, do them somewhere else. You're making it more difficult for us that are in the fight doing this thing. Oh, I don't care. Then this isn't for you. If your whole political point is enough to sabotage the work we're doing, maybe you need to go to another rally.
So I think that was the subject they were talking about out there. But Guns and Gear Review is out there. They first time joining us, and I wasn't even subbed to the channel, so I'm sorry about that. I went and subbed right away. And tell us about that podcast. You said you're a co-host, right?
Yeah, I'm a co-host on that podcast. They were nice enough to put me on 300 something episodes ago in 2015 when I first went on. and we're up to episode like 520 now or something like that. It was what we do is talk every week about guns and gear. We have one, two, three or four products we discuss. We might not have seen it, but or we've seen it at a show, but we might not have shot it, but we can discuss it. And we also have at least one piece of gear every week we review that someone has used. So that's what we do. It's really cool because you have, and I'm not trying to blow smoke. I think it'll be a cool show, even if I wasn't on it, because of the diversity of the types of guys. We had Chad, who's the host. He's in Oregon, and he's a competitive shooter and used to do some hunting, but he's a competitive shooter at this point of different disciplines. We have Rusty, who's out of Tennessee, who's a hunter of various types, also carries self-defense guns and likes buying different types of guns that come out. So he has lots of experience, owns lots of different firearms, introduces his kids, which he has a tassel of, to different firearms. So he's on that intro part of it. And then we have Rob, who's also a competitive long-range shooter, who's taking classes too, not force on force classes, but self-defense classes, buys a lot of different firearms. And then you have me in Jersey, who lives up here and does this kind of work and also is on firearm, competitive shooter on different levels. I'm not a hunter yet, but I will be eventually. So and all of us have been in the guns for about between 40 and 20 years. So just lots of experience. And we'll just tell the unvarnished truth because nobody can afford to pay all of us off. I'm willing to sell out, just nobody's willing to make my price.
Sharon's taken off, but thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Sharon. Nice talking to you, seeing you. Can't wait to see you again, lady.
And then AR Patriot.
So what is he looking at somebody's checking out my cigar.
Yeah, so I was going to say, since I'm not a big cigar smoker or nothing, but you do. So you've been traveling quite a bit. Tell us some cigar stories over your adventures. Have there been any?
All right. One, I'm a rookie cigar smoker. I've only been smoking cigars since 2020. So I haven't got a favorite cigar. I got some I favor. Kentucky Fire Cured is one of them. I stumbled across them because they had cool names like Swamp Thing and Just a Friend. But I like the taste of those. It has kind of a burning hay, kind of smoky taste, and it's not really strong. But as I've come in, I've realized your taste change with cigars. And really, if you want to get into them, just almost everybody that's a cigar smoker is an enabler. And they want more people to start joining and smoking cigars. So I didn't find a place to smoke because we were busy in Orlando. So I didn't even have a chance to light up a cigar. We planned on it, but we were doing so much and everybody scattered to the winds after the event. But when I was at SHOT, I got to chill out with my guys at our Airbnb and just sit on the back patio and take it easy and bring down, the day by smoking a cigar and just BSing with each other over a little bit of bourbon and just hanging out. The Great American Outdoor Show, I got to hang out with the guys from High Point, have a good cigar, actually a Cuban cigar, off on the back porch of their Airbnb as we BS'd and hung out. And man, that was a very smooth cigar. I really don't know. It's the same brand, if you want to look it up and you're a geek, that was JFK's favorite brand of cigar. The day before they banned all cigars coming out of Cuba or Cuban exports, he had them go buy 1,000 of these cigars, his assistant. And then as soon as he found out they were in, he signed the legislation making it illegal for regular people to have cigars from Cuba. That's some BS. But I got to chill with that one. And then while we were out at the Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg, Charlie Cook, John Petrolino, and myself went and found a nice little cigar lounge called Guillotines outside of Harrisburg. That was really nice, really well set up. So if you're ever out that way, go check them out. That was worth hanging out. Nice small place. Bartender came out almost like a concierge, greeted me at the table, asked me if I wanted a drink, asked me what a cigar I wanted. I named the cigar. He asked me what cut I want on it, gave me a V cut, took it out of the wrapper, gave me my drink. I just ordered water, and then went back behind the bar, man. So I thought it was really cool. Nice place.
But
Just
you can
hanging
get
out.
booze there. It's like a bar like that.
Yeah, what it is a small. It's a pizzeria. I think it was named Tony's Pizzeria or something like that in this town outside of Harrisburg. But they opened up a small cigar lounge on the side of it. So they were actually guys ordering pizza and it was coming straight from the kitchen through the back door of the cigar lounge. But they also have a bar, a little horseshoe shaped bar with some good liquors that, from what I was able to read. But I was driving and I don't drink alcohol like that in public for the most part. So I didn't order anything. But Charlie and John had like a drink, and we hung out there for a couple of hours, taking it easy, BSing. Really nice place, local place, and very friendly. That's what I like about the cigar culture. They're friendly, and they welcome people and they'll help you out. Like if I didn't know what to smoke and I walked into one of those places, I'd tell the guy behind the bar who was also running the cigar bar, and he would have given me some recommendations. Yep, there you go. He would have given me recommendations, probably something really light, like with a Connecticut wrapper, and just introduced you into cigar smoking.
If you went in there
And
and
they
said
have good
like,
ventilation.
if you went in there and said, "Can I get like a backwoods or what do they make blunts out of?" The that one brand,
Backwoods or Swisher Sweet.
Swisher Sweets. Yeah. If you went in there and asked
Yeah,
for a Swisher Sweets, would they give you one, or would they go kick your ass out of there? Do you think? Is that like asking
I
for a
think they
can of
would
beer at
laugh.
one of these places, or is it like no big deal? Some
Yeah,
people like these, so that's what you get.
no, you would. I don't think you would have gotten one
Okay.
if you were serious, because I think they would have laughed at first when you were telling a joke, and they probably would. I mean, knowing this guy and the way he was, I think you would have gotten. I think you would have probably got a good cigar at an inexpensive price. You probably would have
He
gave you
would have been
something
like, "Oh, you
that
like that
probably
kind? Then
cost.
here's a real cigar that tastes like that one, or whatever."
Yep, and he probably would have educated you whether you wanted to or not on the difference between uh, what do I call it? I don't even know what you call the service station cigars.
Like
That
an
really
industrial
is just
commercial guitar, yeah, or cigar, yeah.
yeah. I mean, truthfully, I think it's set up just to smoke weed and that stuff. Maybe I don't know. I don't know
Well, I
because I
used to
grew up
smoke
and that's
backwoods
what
when I was
cigars
a
were.
kid. I used to smoke
Yeah.
backwoods when I smoked because whenever I'd go camping or whatever, I would either smoke non-filtered cigarettes or I would take backwoods out there because I didn't care so much about smoking. But like you say, at the end of the night around the campfire or something, you want to smoke something, and
Yep.
there was no filter, so I could just throw the thing into the fire, no big deal.
And
Um,
yep.
and
Same
backwoods kind
thing.
of look
Same
like
thing
what's
with
that
me.
movie? Look like Clint Eastwood or something
Clean
smoking one of
Eastwood.
those. Yeah.
Yep. Same reason I did it. Yeah, it's just something you're chilling out with your friends. That was the same reason I smoked those. And but I thought I was the only one. You know what I mean? My uncle smoked the cherry tipped cigar things with the little tip on
Those
the
were the
end.
Swisher Sweets, right? Yeah, and they were in different flavors.
No, 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 they weren't Swisher Sweets. I didn't know anybody that actually smoked Swisher Sweets. Everybody using the wrap weed in. Um, but like they were some you smoked, they were inexpensive cigars, and that's how I like the smell of those, and that's what got me into the smell before you lit them. Got me into the smell of cigars like a coffee shop. I like the smell of coffee beans. I like the smell of unlit cigars. It's one of those things: unlit cigars, coffee beans, and leather. Cool. But now that I've gotten into cigar smoke and what is what, often look for a good lounge to get a cigar, sit down, chill out. It's just a chill, quiet thing. And if they serve alcohol, cool, because it's a different clientele than a local bar or watering hole. Like you're not going to have anybody show up at a cigar lounge all rowdy and trying to start a fight.
Right,
Or
exactly.
at
It'll
least
be
I
more
haven't.
like they're fighting about a sports game or some bet or like who's got a better car or something. Like it might get rowdy, but it's not like people are getting there to go to
Yeah.
a sports bar and get in a fight.
No. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
You're looking at the girl kind of crap.
you've been around enough cigar stores since we're just talking about them. Is there something like a backwoods equivalent of a fancy cigar that's, I don't know what to call that, like wrapped crudely or like old fashioned way, or is that just the
Yeah.
backwoods like that?
Um, some are. Hold on. I'm just trying to think. Like one of the things that caught my eye was Oscar Leaf by Oscar, and they wrapped their cigar in a tobacco leaf. So you're looking, and there's this just crudely wrapped tobacco leaf thing, and I'm like, what the hairy heck is that? But then you take the tobacco leaf off, and it's a regular cigar from a company, cigar by Oscar,
Oh, it's
a
like
leaf by
literally just a
Oscar.
wrapper. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The cigar leaf is actually a wrapper, and it comes in the boxes, and they take it out, and it's a decent, I think, between what I've been between $8 and $11 cigar, and that's in my opinion a sweet spot for my money.
So what,
But I don't smoke cigars
they're mostly around 10, under $10 then?
around 10, 11, $12. It depends. I've seen the swing from one cigar store on this block to another cigar place, and I've seen a $2 to $3 swing in the same cigar, same stick. But I buy individual. I usually don't buy a case of cigars because I'm still trying different things myself. I've
A
discovered
case
that I
would be
don't like
cheaper.
any rocky. Yeah,
A
yeah,
case
it
would be a little
would be cheaper
cheaper.
buying a bunch of them, but I want to try different things. And yeah, the only thing I don't like, or I haven't found anything I liked yet, is a Rocky Patel, which is a big name. I mean, they own a lot of brands, but the brand name Rocky Patel, I just have not enjoyed their sticks. Just something about them, which is weird because there's another company called True Estates that have a lot of things. It's almost like Coke and Pepsi. Like, yes, you have Coca Cola, but under Coca Cola, you have all of these different brands of sodas. And under Pepsi, you have all these different brands. Same thing with this. Rocky Patel owns a whole bunch of different brands. Drew Estate owns a bunch of different brands. And you wouldn't even know unless you like jump
Pay attention
neck
and
deep into
keep
this
track.
world. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I'm
I
sure it's
have
like
no
anything.
intention of
Once
getting
you own a couple of cigars, what do they call a cigar factory? Like a cigar, what do they call them? Like a farm? I don't know what it's called when you grow
yeah, I
tobacco.
guess.
But whatever they call
Tobacco
a
farm, yeah.
tobacco situation, once you own a couple of them, it's probably, if you see one going out of business, you're not going to just watch it go out of business. You're going to buy it, right?
Yeah, because most of them have a freaking clientele. They have
Yeah, exactly.
a
They
group of
got a
people that
brand
will
and stuff.
smoke those. hmm So why would you get rid of it? I think Swisher Sweets is owned by somebody bigger,
It's
and
kind of
that's just
normal,
Swisher
like
Sweets is that.
whoever came up with it is a person, probably, maybe a family or something. But then as the kids start going to college and wanting to be doctors or something else, who's going to run the place? So now some company owns it, and then that company is just a brand to them. It's just a commodity to them. So it's going to get passed around, right? So
hmm
now, yeah, they're going to get accumulated by people who can go, oh, I can do all the accounting under one head, and I can do all the distribution under one. Just keep all those
I
brands,
do
and
have to
maybe
say
you can
though,
grow over here.
when it comes to this, there's less gatekeeping that I've witnessed. Again, I'm a new person into it, but I'm into the gun thing. There's less gatekeeping with cigars. Like nobody's poo pooing on you. I only had it happen once, and it turned me off to smoking cigars for almost 30 years.
Where they were like,
It
oh, you
turned
didn't
me
buy
off
a good
because
enough
the guy,
brand or something.
I was there. I told, okay, look, I've only been black. All right. So I'll start with that. I've only been a black person. I walked into this place in New Brunswick that was right outside the college, right down the street from Rutgers main campus. And again, leather, nicely appointed little cigar place. And I just got out of the Marine Corps, so it had to be like 94 and 95. I'm like, hi, I'm brand new. I always was interested in smoking cigars, but I've never done it because I don't know what's good, what's bad. How do I get into this hobby? And the guy started talking to me, and I don't know what shut him down. I don't know what I said. I don't recall saying anything, but I might have said something stupid. I just know the entire time I was there, not many people looked like me. And he seemed to kind of almost discourage or talk down to me. And this was my first time walking in the door of one of these things. Now you got to understand, I was 20, 23 years old.
Just
Walking
looking to
into a
spend some money and
whole
try
new
something.
scene. Yeah, and I'm willing to try something and check something out. And I don't know if I don't know why he gave me this vibe of I don't want you here, but I got the 100% vibe that he didn't want me there. And I'm not one of those guys that look for an excuse to go, oh, they was being racist. I have no idea what it was based on. I just know that was the two differences I saw: my age and my race. He might not have thought a dude in his early 20s was serious about getting into it, but I'd already expressed that. I'd like to get into this. My uncle smoked cigars. I always thought it was cool. Cigar, pipe smoke. It looks like something cool and relaxing that you do. Whatever, it shut me down, that gatekeeping. So when I'm doing this, when I just got started in this, also the firearms thing, I don't want to gatekeep for anybody. So I want to welcome as many people as possible. And as far as being an expensive habit, it can be, but I only smoke cigars. Like we had a cigar Thursday night after the diversity shoot with my guys. Um, and prior to that, I had one in January, or like three in January. So I don't consider it really, really expensive. I mean, the four cigars I smoked is the equivalent of pretty much one decent dinner at a restaurant.
Well, that's
So
what I was
that's the
going to
way
say.
I
For
look
like
at
an
that.
expensive guitar, or guys keep saying guitar, expensive cigar would be $50. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's
Yeah,
$1,000 ones, but you go into a shop and you're like, oh, I want to celebrate or something. You're getting like a $50, $25 one. Like it's not
yeah.
$200 to get
Like
into it.
I've had a $25 cigar. I had a $25 cigar, and again, this is I think I was too new to understand that $25 cigar, which was a Rocky Patel. It had the different color wrappers. It had a dark one and a light one. It looked really good. The thing burnt like dry leaves and smelled like a pile of dry leaves. I was not impressed at all. Actually, I ended up throwing it away about halfway through the stick because if you're not enjoying it, bail.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
So I
If
was
you're
going to
not
ask that
enjoying the
question
cigar,
earlier. How long does a cigar last when you're smoking it? An hour? I guess if it's
depends on the cigar, depends on the burn.
but they're
Yeah, it
way
depends on
longer
the
than a
burn.
cigarette. I mean, I must have smoked cigars in the past, but I never really paid attention. But I'm talking like 20 minutes to an hour, probably, right? Or is it even
Oh,
20 minutes to an
yeah. I
hour?
mean, I've smaller cigars can last about 20 minutes. One's about the size of your pinky or maybe your index finger. Those are quick smokes. Some people smoke them during the lunch break. I don't do that. I try to make a cigar last an hour or more. Depends on the gauge, which is the circumference. They go by ring sizes, just like a ring on your finger. They go by ring sizes and length.
Oh, really? Are they
So
literally the
I've had
same as ring sizes, or you're just saying they're like a ring size?
Well, that they actually call it the ring size. I don't know if it's literally the same size because I've only purchased two rings in my life. I've
Yeah, I
only
hear
purchased
that's why
two
I'm
rings.
asking. But yeah, I don't either. Okay.
Um, but I think it's funny because I had to learn it. I got introduced by Kevin Dixie into it in 2020 while I was at staying with them in a show. He actually had his own cigars. Him and Argo J both had were such cigar smokers that they had their own brand cigar wraps for them at their cigar spots. So Kevin had no other choice training cigar, and Argo J had his Black Ops cigar. So that was pretty cool that I get to start off with dudes of that into it that they had their own branded sticks.
They still
Well,
make
then I
them.
come home and I have no, they just had them made for themselves. So they found a particular blend they liked and just had them made. I'm not that into it. I like I'm good with what everybody else makes.
Well, that's probably kind of
But
like
then I
going to
came
a
home.
pipe store. Like back in the day, I'm not sure they're still like this, I guess, where you'd go into a pipe store and they'd have all them jars, and then you could say,
Hmm.
3 of this and 2 of that, and they'd mix them, and then you'd get that 3-to-1 2 mix or whatever. It's probably like
Yep,
that, right?
exactly the same.
And then except they turn
Yep.
them into a cigar.
I thought it was great. I mean, again, I'm not going to get that deeply into it. I forgot who said it, but yeah, it gets expensive,
Well,
and
who do
for somebody that smokes,
you think is that happening like in Georgia or Florida or someplace, or is that happening like wherever the hell Havana or not Havana, I guess, but Puerto Rico or
mm-mm.
someplace wherever they're being made and shipped here as their box?
I have no idea because I've been to weddings and things that had to do with rolling cigars, so I'm assuming you can get it done, locally.
Wherever, you just have to import the person,
Yeah,
not the equipment, because it's just a person doing it at a table or whatever.
yeah, as a person doing it at the table, so I'm figuring those people probably make a living or have a side hustle rolling cigars of certain tobaccos they get shipped in, and they can make them with the wrapper you choose and with the tobacco you choose. I am not that into it. I mean, truthfully, I'm the equivalent of somebody who gets into guns because I like something I saw on a video game, and I bought the Daniel Defense because I saw it in a video game, and I purchased this. It's like, oh, you want to build an AR? Oh, hell no. No, no, not at all. It's like, no, just buy it from the company already made, put the optic on it. I think that's where I'm at in this whole cigar adventure.
But mainly it's about hanging out with folks. So it sounds like you were able to do that at Shot then, and then you've got
Yeah,
training them coming up in a minute. So I imagine you'll be smoking there because
yeah.
the
So I got
training
training learn
learn is the
coming up.
whole evening thing. So I was gonna say the part when we were chatting about it before, I kind of blew over this because you were talking about something else,
Yeah,
and I didn't want to interrupt you. But with train and learn, KD kind of in what's the word? He like uh, makes it conducive to everybody hanging out in the evenings. It sounds like from what I've heard. What's it like in the
hmm
evenings at Ambassador Academy? Is it like 5 o'clock? Everybody's on their own till the next morning, or is it something different?
yeah. 5 o'clock, you're out. Um, Now, the reason I hung out with the people I hung out with is because it was a 30-minute ride back to the hotel. Ambassador Academy is not really a WAFT. It's not really a WAFT, WOFT, where our families train, is actually what that means. It's out in the country on, acreage out there. So pretty much it would have been a Uber first thing in the morning, but we were staying in hotels with each other. So we all just piled in and rode in and out. Since the hotels were closed, we'd go have dinner together and then everybody go to their own rooms. So it wasn't really encouraged to work together. Plus, we would we had to be there at 7. So we were rolling out about 6:15, 6:30 every morning.
Yeah,
So
by the time
everyone
you
was
take
exhausted
showers
by
and
the end of
eat
the
and
day.
stuff and exactly just rest. It's not like big nighttime uh,
Yeah.
social life. What's going on with my dog here?
So at Train and Learn, we start in the morning, I think at like 9 o'clock, 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And then we finish up, but we'd still be there. Now, these were all in the country, and we'd have food prepared there and fellowship there and talk and hang out there. And again, you're encouraged to work together and collaborate because they have a lot of content providers and you have firearms trainers and everything else. So they encourage you to get content there at that time and make time for it. So again, same but different. Ambassador Academy is really more working on you being an ambassador, you being a brand spokesperson. Um, Kevin introduces you to that kind of thing. I just feel blessed to have been to them both and friends with these people because they're making a difference and they're trying to grow this army of pro freedom people.
What am I not asking you about any of these things? Well, you've been to essentially 4 things since last time we talked. SHOT Show, your train and learn yesterday, no, day before yesterday,
Mm.
and uh, Great Outdoors Show, and then now Ambassador Academy.
hmm
That's a lot of stuff. So anything if I'm forgetting, we're
Yeah,
getting 2 hours. So I don't keep you all
it's a
afternoon.
lot of stuff, right?
Yeah. But is there anything major that you'd want to chat
Yeah.
about? That
Okay. In my, let me see. Let me think. Because yeah, I'm still a little punch drunk from coming back from the Ambassador Academy and then launching directly into doing a diversity shoot, which I still have to come up with dates, and I'm incorporating 2 new ranges into the diversity shoot. Oh, don't let me forget about my Patreon. All right. So just don't let me forget about it.
Okay.
I definitely 100% think it's worth going to the Great American Outdoors Show if you were within 4 hours of Harrisburg, PA. Even a little bit further if you want to go up, because it's a 9-day show. If NRA is at the other side of the country and you live on the East Coast within 4 hours of Harrisburg, go to Harrisburg. They have a lot of firearms manufacturers there, a lot of stuff there, and you can walk around the show. They have hunting there, they have camping there. Almost every aspect of outdoor life is at that Harrisburg 9-day show. Hotels aren't expensive. Definitely worth going to. I'd suggest to go to that as like the first show of the season if you want to go check stuff out, especially new stuff. Because a lot of us are gun guys, and I wasn't aware of that. Going to a gun show, you're not going to see the newest stuff. But when you go where the firearms manufacturers go, you're going to see their new stuff, because that's where they debuted the actual SIG, debuted the P365 at the Harrisburg show, not at SHOT. They didn't debut it at SHOT, and they didn't debut it at NRA. They debuted it at the Harrisburg show, so it's 100% worth going to. Ambassador Academy, I think if you're going to be an advocate, both Ambassador Academy and Train and Learn are good to go to. If you're going to be a content creator, is definitely Train and Learn is the most bang for your buck, because it gets you to network with other content creators that you can collaborate with, and it gets you a toe in the industry talking to the manufacturers in this industry. So I think that is more in line with that. But if you're definitely planning on being an advocate, um, both of those are worth going to. I can't even tell you one's better than the other one. One's way more expensive than the other one, but you get a lot more out of it if you get in early to Train and Learn. It allows you to network, and other people in advocacy. And I think that gives you a heads up and a step up, because organically, I started out in Jersey with my advocacy because I was ticked off about what was happening here. And because of podcasts, I was able to meet others. And then by the time I got to meet them physically, I'd already had habits, had things that I was doing. So when I met them, and I was able to take corrective actions. I don't think I wasted a lot of time, but I did waste time. And I felt if I would have ran into Kevin Dixie and was able to go there, I would have been able to network there. And Ambassador Academy would have got me a jump on that. So it would have put me ahead. It's like a graduate school. Yep. Great American Outdoor Show is definitely worth going to in 2025 if you want to plan it. Not a lot to see out in Harrisburg. But at least I don't think so. They got Hershey, Pennsylvania right there if you want to take a tour of the Hershey plant. But as a gun dude, I think they have some music. Oh, President Trump was there too, which was annoying as hell, because of how it went. It was pretty much a day that was shot to crap, because the president was there and he was speaking, so no one was allowed to bring anything into the venue. So thereby, nobody purchased anything from the show, and the traffic was down at the show. So there weren't many people there, but that allowed me to go and talk to Henry about their new lever action that takes AR mags. That was cool. It allowed me to go talk to Walther because we had time. And I was able to have discussions with them about trying to get some of their stuff at our diversity shoots. So it created a good thing. And I was able to hang out with my guys from Tactical Life, which is a firearms company. And they build these ARs that break down and you can put them in a bag. like they break down really small, they were there. But it kind of sucked when they start piping the music in from the, I guess, pre-show for Trump, and they had the music blasting to almost nightclub levels for like two of this guy's songs, and then they started pumping the president's speech through the hall, and everybody just packed up and left because there was no customers. It just gets weird when the president shows up because security wise.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, I guess. Well, depending on, even if you leave the Trump part out of it, any president that shows up is a double-edged sword because it's interesting, neat for some people, but then there's also the people that aren't that political party or don't care, and then there's the lack of commerce because I've noticed or I've heard of similar situations where presidents have shown up for a parade or for whatever to do something, and they essentially shut down. They have to, I guess. They're so worried about it. Some issue. Yeah. And they're a national figure.
It's understandable, but it sucks.
But, yeah. But it's definitely that shadow. That shadow kills everything around it. Wow. The good part is
the lady tell me?
At the end of it, they can say after, like, and this is where the president was, and then there's a little bit of extra, interest because, oh yeah, wow, the president was here that one time. Some little bit of extra.
Well, what I was told was this one company I was dealing with says on, I forgot what day the president was there. Maybe it was a Friday. They say on Fridays they do like thousands of dollars worth of business. And that Friday they did $600 worth. It's like, yeah, it's really going to be hard to make up thousands of dollars.
Yeah, because it's not like every day they're making thousands. They depend on the weekends to justify the whole rest of it, probably. So a pretty big bite that might be profit for the whole thing or not, like even if they break even or not.
Yeah, because you have 9 days and 2 entire weekends. So I think it cracks open like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then the whole next week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it ends that Sunday. So it's like, those weekends is when the money comes in. They said a lot of people promised they'd be back the next day after they saw the president. Plus, they also had concerts. I just find it funny that you're out at the Pennsylvania Farm Complex, because that's what the official name of where it's held at. And they're blasting country music. It's country, 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 country. And then you go to the NRA and it's country, 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 country. And they go, yeah, we welcome all people. No, you don't. No, you don't. There's nothing about this that is welcoming to all people. You have the majority of the people that you want to cater to. And that's it. And the funny part is, you don't listen to anybody else because all white people don't listen to country music. But it's like this is this
I don't like it at all. And it's
that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
because it's either tone deaf or it's playing into what the other side, what's the word, like stereotypes gun owners has. Yeah.
It's like, dude, what the frig? I'm like, it was bad. I mean, they were blasting the music so badly. If you go back through my feed, you can pull it up. I didn't bull crap. I just started a live or video recording, and you can barely hear me with the phone in front of my face. And I said it was a fail. It's a public relations fail. One of the ladies I was one of the ladies at the academy, she was former NRA, and they are tone deaf when it comes to bringing others in that don't fit the stereotype that the NRA allowed itself to be painted into, in my opinion. All gun owners, not country western, big buckled cowboy hat wearing white people. I'm like, but it seems like the NRA, what was that?
They could just not play music because, like you said, it's unnecessary. Plus, when it's so loud that you can't even do business over it, then just have a conversation over it.
They've never done that before. They've never done that as far as I've known. Excuse me, hold on. I'm starting to sound like people that just came into something. In the what year is it? In the 9 years I've gone to the Great American Outdoor Show, they've never pumped music through it. This was the first time I'm aware of that it happened. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then the venues they host the NRA at, I get it, but does it have to be so overwhelmingly country with the fringe of it? Even the concerts they put on are all country music concerts at every
That
NRA
makes sense.
annual meeting.
That
Like every
makes sense.
freaking one of them.
I mean, I guess the thing it could be that if they made it heavy metal, would anyone even go? And if they made it anything else, would anyone even go? If it was classical, would anyone go? If it was rap or something, would anyone go? If it was
Well, they were in Atlanta.
go.
They were in Atlanta,
No, that's true.
which
They can
has
always
one of the
go with
largest black
whatever.
populations.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
the music of the town is. That makes
Um,
sense. Because each town has a different music.
so and let's go ahead and be real. I'm not going to a concert anyway, and I'm not going to anyone's concert, but I'm just going, hey, if you're talking about catering and welcoming different people, you have in no way encouraged different people to go. And it doesn't even have to be big venue stuff. If you're going to do outside entertainment, you can have smaller venues with different things in it. You can have a jazz venue. I mean, if you're going to put entertainment on outside of NRA, you know what I mean? If you're going to put entertainment on, why does it always have to be the same country music stuff? It doesn't really seem. It seems you're only welcoming people if they enjoy the exact same things that you do.
Pretty sure SHOT Show said the same thing, right? I didn't listen. I didn't pay attention because it was no interest at all. But again, maybe it has something to do with the only people that want to show up are country people to a concert.
I have no clue.
But somebody's asking
I have
about
no
t-shirts.
clue.
Where do you got t-shirts now? Or do you got t-shirts out there now?
I don't know unless you can reach them on the link. I don't even think I have the link up on the website anymore.
Have you chatted with Matt from Meet the Pressers?
No, just saw Matt for like 5 seconds. He
He's got
came
a
by,
t-shirt
he
thing
dropped by
going.
the training.
He's got a t-shirt thing going, so you guys need to chat and get
Oh yeah.
signs over on there. Yeah. I can't remember for
All
life
right,
of me
then.
the name, but he's got a t-shirt situation going.
Yeah, because I want to get in on that now, going into 2024. Once we getting everything set up, I think I'm just going to go through it all out there. But I have to get a T-shirt company. That was one of the things I was actually discussing.
So the answer is stay
What the
tuned.
hell?
And
Stay tuned. 100% stay tuned because I want to get T-shirts out, but I got to have them in big boy sizes. I can't make T-shirts and I can't even fit them.
that's a good point.
So
And that's just
yeah.
Excluding too many people in 2024. It's 2
Look,
hours
people have
already.
gotten bigger, man. Yep.
Exactly. And plus people like bigger stuff once in a while. Like I don't want to wear a shirt that is fitting me like that one they crammed on you, right? I want a shirt that's got room in it to move around or whatever. We're at 2 hours though, so I mean I kind of cutting you off because we kind of went off a tangent there at the outdoor show. If there was anything else you wanted to bring up though that I forgot.
Outdoor show worth going to. The trainings are worth going to if you're gonna actually take advantage of them. Taking a training class. Let's go into that real quick. Let's bounce out at the bottom of the hour if you want to.
Yeah, I don't care.
What I think is important. Scenario training. The scenario training is very important to get your mind to go to scenarios where you actually have to use your gun. Not what you think of, but what someone else thought of to put you in a situation where now you got to think. I think that's very important. Also, Self-Defense Gun Stories is one of the podcasts that I'm a co-host on. They have 6 rotating co-hosts on the podcast. This podcast is run by Rob Morse. It is 100% worth listening to. 4 different stories from the news, recent news about civilian armed self-defense, and we talk about what they did right and what they could have done better. It is 100% worth listening to break us out of whatever self-defense fantasy we have in our heads. This is straight from the newspapers. So it's different things, from a neighbor in a domestic dispute that can turn deadly, to someone kicking your door in, to just different things. Approaching the parking lot. All these things are different every week. It's worth listening to, because if you're in a self-defense mindset, or you carry a firearm for self-defense, this short 20-minute podcast is like a mental exercise that you can run through as a firearms owner. Everything from what you've done in that situation, to how do you store your gun, to do you carry your gun on you in your home. And it makes you, we say it during the show. Do you carry a gun on you when you're at home? Do you carry a gun when you go to get gas, or when you run to the store really quick? Because that's when these situations happen. And I really think it's important to us, because we know where we are right now. We're gun guys. I mean, everybody's listening to this, gun guy, gun girl. But do you have the scenario where I'm only going to the store so I don't need anything? Yep, exactly, CNT. Pants on, gun on. If you're going to carry it, carry it. I'm encouraging you to do that. I'm encouraging you to listen to shows like this and get good training. A lot of us think I don't need any training because I was in the military. My granddad taught me to shoot. When you go to a good training instructor, firearms training instructor, they're going to figure out what you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know if you've never been to a class. I thought I knew what handgun training was from my time in the Marine Corps. I'll say right now, the worst training I ever received on using a handgun was from the United States Marine Corps. The worst training I ever received on handguns was the Marine Corps. So please go ahead and get some real training. You don't have to go to a celebrity trainer that's like, $2,000 for a weekend. You can go to your local range and get trained there. Look around, get some basics, and then take a more advanced class and practice. Get some dummy rounds and practice drawing your gun, and practice getting that first shot off and on target. Like, do cold starts at your local range if you can. Only the first round counts. Everything after that, just to say, it doesn't count as much, because you may only get one shot. So work on drawing that firearm and getting that round on target. Because sometimes we like to lie to ourselves about how effective and how good we are. And under a timer, under someone else's watchful eye, and not doing your favorite gun fu exercise. You know what I mean? Like, not something you're good at, but what they selected. All of a sudden you realize, I'm not as good as I thought I was. I need to work on this. It can only save your life. So that's what I want to stress. And also, my Patreon is back up. Figured out what was wrong with it. So if you guys want to donate to me, please do. My link is on diversityshoots.com. That gives me a monthly thing. I'm going to have more drawings. I'm going to have more prizes. I'm going to put together more stuff to make it worthwhile. Actually follow me on my Patreon. I'm setting up a schedule where I'm giving Patreon subscribers. It's just really annoying, because I like to come on the show and just talk to regular people, and to somehow have something special for patrons just seems a little bit narcissistic, but it will help raise money, so I'm not going into the Ambassador Academy or flying out to somewhere dead ass broke. I mean, because that's one of the issues that I'm having, is I have to buy food for the next event. I have to do things for the next event, and we still have to go on continuing education, continue networking, continue advocating, and it all costs money. I was supposed to be in Arizona last weekend, speaking at that event. because my plan
But they
was to
don't pay
combine
people to
that with my
come out
first
here,
diversion.
so that means it's on you to pay for to
They,
come out here.
yeah, I got to pay to come out there. So what I was trying to do was hook up with people out in AAZ. So I had a couple of diversity shoots, and then I spoke. I was trying to fill up the
Well,
whole weekend with
we
something
can
to
chat a bit.
fundraise for us.
We can chat a bit about it, but you could have a thing on your Patreon for, I don't know, let's just say a number for gun shops to participate, to help support the diversity shoots. And then at that level, you put a page on the website that says, here's the gun shops that support us. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the ones that you shoot at exclusively. It could be any gun shop that likes the concept. And that gets you a step closer to getting out to them, gives you maybe some destinations to get out to. You know what I mean? Then, but it gives you another thing to give a Patreon that's a tangible thing. You got a link to them on your website now.
Mm-hmm.
Do stuff like that.
Yep. We'll do that. All right, man. Yeah, that was what I wanted to get out. I just want guys to train and be safe and protect their families like we all think we were going to.
I certainly understand that. Going to training
Oh,
seems like kind of like drinking water or something. You do it, and then you're like refreshed, and you're like, "Why? It's such a simple thing. Why don't everybody do this?" So you want to,
mm-hmm.
get the word out there. And then I think, just from
Encouragement.
my experience, I'm assuming a bunch of people are rolling their eyes and going, "Of course, you just got done. Of course, you're going to advocate for it." But that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
There is. Imagine going swimming, right? Last time you went swimming, you're like, whatever. I don't know what your attitude is about going swimming, but whatever it is, you probably had other things on your mind. You finally hit the water. You come up and you're like, okay, now I remember why I like going swimming. Like boom. Once you're actually in contact with
Mm-hmm.
water and you're doing that thing, and it's sort of like that. And there's other experiences out there, but I appreciate that, and that's one of the reasons I thought it's good to chat with you. And I'm glad we had a chance to chat now, because pretty soon you're going to be doing train and learn and other stuff, and this will all be
Yep.
a part of the blur. We had a couple more
Yeah,
questions.
man. So I'm hoping. Yeah, go ahead, please. Let's rock and roll, baby.
Finish your thought there.
So I'm gonna be talking to a couple people. I'm trying to get to travel this year and do a series of diversity shoots, not in Jersey. So getting my feet under me, we get the funding going, because the things have to. I do not expect when I go on tour, those diversity shoots are going to pay for themselves. So the funding has to come before to be there for the diversity shoots. Pretty much, they're going to be a money loss, but they're going to be putting the face on it and allowing people to see that you can do the same thing here. You don't have to call it the diversity shoot, but you can put on events introducing people to firearms and advocacy in your town, in your city. And I'm willing to go to those towns and cities. I met a guy from Kansas named Mario, who's a barber there in Kansas City. But there's others in Kansas City that would like to put this on. And Kansas City is only like 4 hours away from Omaha, where I hosted in Nebraska a couple of years ago. And that was very successful. We did 3 events in one day. I'm like 100% ready to throw down like that again. That's also why I want to get in better shape, because that does take a lot out of you, doing the 3 diversity shoots in one day. But I want to be successful. I want to take this thing to other states. I want to encourage people to get involved on their local level, because nothing's more grassroots than this. Nothing's more grassroots than starting something at your local range.
Yeah, just because the range can be sitting there twiddling their thumbs going, how do we get more business? Like, what do we do to get more business? And then somebody comes along and goes, hey, here's a recipe. Have a welcome, welcome to our culture. Welcome to our community. Here's how you go to a gun shop. Here's how you use a gun. Here's how you hang out with other shooters. And here's, the path. Here you go. So yeah, that's really cool concept to franchise.
I love it. Yep. And I got to figure out how to franchise it if you want to just be under my banner. This is funny. What was the best innovation you saw at SHOT Show, and why is it the mag-fed lever gun? I thought it was a great concept. I think it's a great concept. I'm going to ask for one. They still aren't in the wild yet, but I'm definitely going to ask for one because of where I live.
You're talking
They make them at 300 blackout from Henry. I'm sorry. Yes, Henry makes it. I think it's called a Henry Supreme or Henry Superior. I forget which one it is, but 100% awesome suppressed 300 blackout. I worked it, and the hammer falling was louder than the gun going off. You can hear it in my videos. If you go to SimonSaysTrain on YouTube and watch the video, you can actually hear me shoot the thing and hear the steel ring because I made sure I shot at 50, I think it was 25, 50, and 100 and something yards. And I just kept shooting further and further out. And it was louder than the gun going off. But for me, and for people that live in states like New York, California, here, Maryland, Delaware, now Illinois, where they have assault weapons ban, this gun is awesome because it's a lever action. It's a short throw lever because in a lever action, when you cock it, in a regular lever action that takes a tube-fed magazine, you really have to throw all the way to the end of the action, and it's further than most people think to throw that, or you're going to short stroke it and it won't pick up the next shell. Well, with a magazine fed, you can only throw it to 90 degrees or less before it'll hit the magazine. Well, that's all it takes to pick up the 223. So it's almost like a lever action that they use in cowboy action shooting that's had an action job on it. So it's really fast to shoot. As long as you just go to the stop, you're going to go straight to the magazine. It's going to stop before it hits the magazine, pick up the next round, and you're firing already. The safety is ambidextrous. It's set up just like a regular friggin' lever. And if they come up with the furniture with the, what's it, M-lock, you'll be able to put your little flashlight and your sling. And with some practice, you'll be able to run your lever gun very fast. Not as fast as semi-automatic, obviously, but you won't be at such a disadvantage that your state puts you in by pretty much banning a regular AR. Also, Foxtrot Mike has something called the Ranch Rifle, and that's worth looking up. And it is their own lower with an AR-15 upper. You can smack an AR-15 upper on their lower, and their lower has a Monte Carlo stock. So pretty much it's like a Mini 14, a Ruger Mini 14, except more dependable and less expensive than a Mini 14 if you buy the whole entire thing from Foxtrot Mike. If not, you can just purchase the lower and use your regular AR upper. So hopefully I'll be getting sent one of those soon. He just asked me for my FFL information while I was down at Ambassador Academy. So hopefully I'll be getting one of those in. I checked it out at SHOT Show. We actually talked about it and discussed it beforehand. These guns are kind of like ban-proof right now. And the reason being, we could take L's locally, we can take losses locally, and all of a sudden our firearms are against the law. Ain't like I'm turning them in or anything, but I still have to be able to protect myself in the interim until they lose the Supreme Court case and they throw out all these assault weapons bans. I still like to be able to protect me and mine. So if it's a lever action magazine fed modern rifle, cool. If it's one that uses a Monte Carlo stock and doesn't have any of the evil features and it complies with their stupid rules, but I still have a semi-automatic mag-fed rifle, even better. We have to do what we have to do when we're behind enemy lines to survive the stupid attack on our rights. But instead of just taking it, we need to fight back, and that's why I encourage people to become activists.
So that was talking about the mag-fed lever gun, but is that your favorite best invention, or was that what you'd pick as best innovation at SHOT Show this year?
Well, that was a big thing at SHOT Show. Everybody was coming out with lever action. Smith came out with one. Arrow Precision and Stag Arms worked together and developed a lever action, but these were traditional. That magazine fed, I think, has a bigger impact on people like us, along with the Ranch Rifle, which I don't think it debuted at SHOT, but I think it's something that's out there, and I think it's worth looking at. A lot of the other things that shot is not innovative, but the door was opened by Staccato. And then last year, I think what was the name of it? Springfield Armory came out with the Prodigy at like half the price of a Staccato, and now Gerson and TSOS have come out with their own version of a double stack 2011 at like half the price of a Prodigy. So for $1,000 or less, you're able to get one of these double stack 2011s. And I think that's a great thing. Also, a company called Military Armament Corporation, same name as the old Mac that made Mac 10s, Mac 11s. Somebody purchased their name. One of the people, the importer of T-Sauce, actually purchased that name, and they upgraded the T-Sauce that are being made in Turkey with better coatings, better fit and finish, and they're importing them into America under the Mac name and Mac logo. And I think that's going to be something freaking awesome. They importing old school SOCOM Delta Force like 1911 and 45 ACP. Like they've copied a SOCOM like 1911 from I think like the early 90s, like what they would have used in Panama. They made a copy of that in 45 ACP. I'm really excited about that. They also made a double stack like the Prodigy, like the Staccato. And they also have a Benelli clone, just like the one the Marine Corps makes called the Breacher, and a couple of more with different stock configurations on it. And I'm hearing they're really, really dependable, and they're in the $600 range. So I think it's innovation and other companies cloning the trends. And they're making really good clones to roll back to the conversation we had earlier, because it's easier to make quality guns now than ever before with CNC and computer assistance. And this particular company, Mac and TSOS, actually has their American quality control guy living in Turkey. So he checks the guns out when they come off the line, so you're not getting garbage here. That's something they did a little different to make sure they have better guns coming into the country, because the quality control is done before it leaves the plant there.
Well, my answer to that one for innovation is what is it? We Tactical made a little AR, and then they're making a little AK now. It's a scaled down AK. And then
Why were they there?
Yeah, they're rebranded.
Were they there?
Yeah, at SHOT Show. Yeah, they're downstairs.
I did not see them. I went to where they were. I went there.
Well, they were We Tactical, and then they were something else, and now they're called Mountain Billy Gun something. I think Gun Club or Gun something. So
like I went looking for them. Yeah, dude. Couldn't
pretty
find
close, but it's basically the same gun. They've just maybe made a couple of improvements. I think I might have done a video. I haven't posted it yet. And then
oh wow, I didn't know that, right?
Yeah, and then like I said, I asked them. Actually, I was sitting there, went by and grabbed some patches the first time I seen them, and I was like, okay, I'll come by and do a video because they were super busy. Came by later, and they also were near a robot dog, and the robot dog was being cool, and it was interacting with regular dogs that were walking by. So I was leaving that thing. I was watching the robot dog for a while. I was walking away from there, and I happened to be walking by We Tactical, or they're called Mountain Billy Gun Club, or whatever they're called. And I was walking past them, and I go, oh, I'm going to film this video. So I'm filming the video, and as I move the camera over, Gizzard's standing there, Gizzard Gary. So I'm like, oh, Gizzard's standing here.
Mm-hmm.
So I said something to Gizzard, and I go, or I said, hey, what's the best thing you've seen at SHOT Show? And he goes, something, and I go, oh, I should have said this. And then like that made the guy who was holding the thing, their AR, go, oh no, you should see this. Do you like AKs? And I was like, what? So I didn't even know about that thing. I wouldn't have even seen it because I was about to walk away. If Gizzard wasn't there to make me say something to Gizzard, that made that guy react and talk about the AKs. So I would have almost missed it. Luckily, Gizzard was standing there. But anyway, it's
You know how crazy it was, dude? I know where it was.
it was same place as last year.
Son of a biscuit. No. No, I went past there. They had some lady singing there with a microphone and a guitar.
Oh, well, it was near it then, and maybe it was a row down or something, but it was in
Yeah,
the
you
same
said it was
part.
over by the robot. You said it was by the robot dog. The robot dog was over by Timber Creek in the corner.
Okay, so you remember where that
That,
little robot dog was playing around? Yeah, and it was like kitty corner from there.
yeah, well, biscuit. I hate when
But
that happens. I was right there. I got video of the
and
dog.
looked different. They look different. You know, they had different colors. It's like a brown and different color now.
Yeah,
But
I got that
except for
patch
they're
right here,
getting-
actually.
They're getting bullied all the time.
Mountain. What? Yep, Mountain. What is it called?
Mountain Billy. It's the patch is tan and it's kind of small, and it's a billy goat
Mountain.
skeleton standing in front of a silhouette, and he's standing on a rock, and then the rock says Mountain Billy. I forget if it says Gun Club or what. I don't have the patch in front of me.
Oh, I'm pissed at that, bro. Because I wanted. I mean, I went to see them from the first year, and then they got bullied by the governor and by Schumer.
Yep.
And you know, I stood up for them, and I actually had a reporter trying to get in contact with me because she wanted to interview me about it, because I think they're innovative and they're getting pooped on.
Yep.
Someone's
The
trying to
little
kill their business.
JR-15. Well, that's what it was. Did they rebrand to JR-15? And I think that might have been their.
Mhm.
They went from We Tactical to JR-15, and now they went to this because they're going to do more than the AR-15 now.
Mhm.
So it's a 22
Yeah, they
caliber
told me about.
little magazine that's kind of scaled down. It looks like an AK-74 mag, but it's a scaled down thing that holds 22 mags or 22 long rifles, and 10 of them or something. And then, but it fits into this little AK that they're scaling down. It's freaking amazing. It's like a cricket,
All right,
but
here we
an AK.
Mountain Billy Goat Lab.
There it is. Yep, Mountain Billy Goat Lab.
I feel like such a doofus because I was so close, man. I was so close. I videoed the freaking dog. I was sitting on my my scooter at what do you call it, at Timber Creek, and all of a sudden I see this dog dancing. I'm like, whoa, this is cool.
Yep, and there
Oh,
was really
freaking
like,
fat.
he really knew how to run that dog too. Like he was making it do all this. What do you call them? Little things that a dog would do. I don't know what to call that. Mannerisms or whatever that a dog would do. He was really good.
Yep, dude, that
So
really. I mean, and it really sucks that
I walked away from that dog
politicians are
at
working.
one point, and I was going somewhere, and I'm walking away from that dog, and then I see this giant. What are they called? Saint Bernards? Is that the one that used to have like on the cartoons that have the rum under their in that
Mhm.
barrel under their collar? It was one of them kind of dogs, a giant one, right? And I'm as a service dog, so I go, "Hey, do you want to see your dog play with a robot dog?" And the guy goes, "What now?" And I go, "There's a guy over there with a robot dog, and when a regular dog walks past him, he plays with the robot dog." And he goes, "Where now?" And he's like, "Take me over there now." So we go over there, and I walk about halfway across the downstairs to get this guy, video of that dog playing. But the thing is, he's got this giant dog, right? Big giant dog, and that little robot dog wasn't that big, but it was totally scared of that little robot dog. I think it was freaked out by it. Probably scared, but
That's because it was freaky. Oh, dude, this is great. They're now putting this out as a lightweight 22 instead of a kid's gun.
Nice. So that's an effective
Smart.
rebrand, hopefully. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I can't wait to freaking. I got to contact these people because I think it's awesome what they were doing. I've interviewed them twice, and I think it's horrible because these politicians just target them because they can make them look
They
bad
can.
easily without ever speaking to them.
And every time they're successful at that, it's also in teaching the antis that they can take away from us, that they can separate us that way, that they can divide and separate from. And when we should be the other way, we should be like, every time they go near us, doesn't even matter if you care about this
We
thing.
just
Yeah, but
Mhm.
we stand
every time they go near us, we just make this company the most successful sons of guns ever.
Yeah, that's the other way to do it, right? Like everyone buys one. We would do it. until
It's just everybody buys one.
Woods is asking how much less recoil power is a 20 than a 12. I think there's negligible. I think it's 8 less pellets. So it's, I don't know. Do you have a different answer?
Okay. It's 60% less recoil and 40% less payload. That's what I got from Mas Ayub. That's how he broke it down. So
Okay.
20 gauge is definitely worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so much less on the abuse on your shoulder and very little less power. And I think same thing from Asad Ayub, a video back in the day, like a long time ago. Mas did a video where he's like, you might as well just use a 20, and here's why. And it was like 8 pellets less, and that's what sold me, because I don't care about a 20 gauge recoil,
Legit.
or a 12 gauge recoil, but the 8 less. And I really hate the size of shotgun shells. So when he sold me as soon as he's like, there's only 8 less pellets, and essentially it's not a huge difference in size, but it is a difference in size. The guns are lighter. So I'm like, oh yeah, if I can carry around a lighter
Guns
gun.
are lighter, more youth model, and from my point of view, and I'll go ahead and put it out there because a lot of people don't. The youth link stock is more conducive to modern CQB use of a shotgun.
Yeah, everybody who's doing that CQB takes them off and puts on a youth stock or some fancy version of youth stock. Yeah,
of adjustable stock. But yeah, it's youth stock link. And it's easier to find a youth 20 gauge, put a tube extension on it, have 8 shots of 20 gauge you can run through quickly. 20 gauge takes up less weight, takes up less room, and is almost as effective as 12, especially at in the house distances.
So he's obviously trying to bring Clover into the chat. Are 10 gauge is still a thing? Does anyone still make a 10 gauge? I think I tried typing that out there, and I got a lot of debate, but I didn't get any kind of definitive, here's what you use 10 gauge for. I would assume turkey and maybe shoot duck, but I know shooting turkey, if you're not near turkey, you're going to want something that can...
Yeah, waterfowl, and I'm sitting there looking gauge like... Go ahead.
Well, I'm done. I was just saying turkey.
It's just over expensive.
That's the other thing, yeah. It's
in my opinion,
right?
Yeah, 10 gauge is like 10 millimeter. A whole bunch of people say they're into it, but you can't find anybody that actually uses it.
Maybe something like Alaska that I'm not thinking of, like a reindeer or some big ass moose. Like the moose are probably bigger in Alaska. Maybe you need it for like a slug out of a 10 gauge for a moose, or maybe them bears. I have no idea, but nothing down here.
No, in those places. Yeah, in those places they got rifle hunting. Only down here where we're more populated, densely populated, do we restrict people to shotguns in those situations.
Well, I'm thinking like in Alaska, maybe you take a 10 gauge out with a bunch of slugs and a bunch of whatever, copper plated something. Now you can shoot whatever your giant goose and your giant duck and your giant moose all at the same time, right? And then also defend against a bear. I mean, that's where I'm thinking maybe that's an application for it, but maybe I'm imagining. I have no idea how many times people get attacked by moose and stuff in Alaska. If that's just
I know moose are dangerous, are very, very dangerous. A hell of a lot bigger than you think they are. So,
yeah, and the thing is, you see every once in a while like a bunch of mooses hanging out doing their thing, but what you see is the moose attacking somebody, but you don't see the like, hey moose, look at them dumb moose, look at kicking them in the nuts or whatever they're doing to the moose, and then he gets attacked, and that's what you see. So I don't know if it's
or
if we're just getting
a bunch of dumbass tourists that don't understand that it is not Bullwinkle.
Yeah, exactly.
It is not Bullwinkle. This is not your.
They could care less if you stand next to it. Sometimes.
Yeah, this is a moose, especially when they're what they call it in the rut. I think that's what they mean. When it's time for them to get busy, they're real aggressive against everything and anything.
Yep, super territorial, and then plus they're just bored, so they'll just run over to you and see what you do.
And then here comes Sue Ann and Larry with the damn camera phone because they want to get something for their freaking Instagram. Put you on the Facebooks. My grandkids are gonna love this. Your grandkids don't want to see Grandpa getting trampled by a moose.
I met a guy.
I do.
Maybe 3 years ago now. I shot, except at the surplus store convention that happens, or the surplus store show that happens right before shot. I met this guy there that's out of Texas, and sells bags and pouches and stuff. He's an Army, but military guy, and does like a bunch of military style backpacks and pouches and stuff. So anyway, chatted with him and started following on Instagram, and about 60% of their Instagram is that kind of stuff. Like, you shouldn't be walking up to that moose. Shouldn't be walking up. And then some kid goes flying from a moose, poking at him or whatever you call it when a moose picks you up and throws you with its antlers.
Yeah. What do you call it? A bad day.
There's nothing good about that. Like, it's going to hurt getting hit by the moose, and it's going to hurt coming down. And if you fall on something, that's going to hurt. If it's a tree or a fence or something, all that hurting.
And by the way, it ain't like it's going to happen 20 minutes from the hospital. You're in the middle of nowhere. Now you got to extradite yourself and take that hour, 2 hour, 3 hour ride or a limp to whatever ride you have to get out of there.
500 asked a good question. Why do they make so many versions of the same gun, like all the AKs or ARs? Essentially, it's just because they've had a long run, and the AK side of it is the Soviet Union told what do they call it? The Russia told the rest of the Soviet Union, all the other countries that it owned, this is what you're going to make. And they said, you got to do this parameter, but you can do what you want, essentially. And they all kind of made their own versions of it. Some of them resisted and did something outside the realm, and most of them tried to follow the rules. So, and then a couple of countries took it and ran with it and just decided, I'm going to take it because what are the communists going to do about it? And the AR side, it's sort of, we started using them and all the other countries were like, it's kind of a good idea. And they just followed suit. I don't think we forced anybody to, other than we said stuff like, well, if you use our guns, we'll just give them to you. We probably said that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was it.
We spend money making our own guns, or we could just take yours for free. Okay, we'll take yours for free. Thanks. And that gave us an excuse to make more. So we made more, did the same thing, and then did more.
Military industrial complex at work, baby. Yeah. Twisting arms, making sales. But then also you throw on top of this, because mil-spec was a big thing, right? Mil-spec was a big thing until the 2000s. Oh, mil-spec ARs. So you had a certain build. You had the initial Vietnam era 1960s AR. Then you had the A2 that the Marine Corps came, so people started making them like that. And then there was the dissipator. I mean, there was only like the regular AR with the freaking handguard and everything else. But then after everything broke out, after the assault weapons ban ended, the global war on terror started. And that's when things started changing and shaping up. And then these guns started being used in 3-gun, and you started getting rails. And that's where it just became variety after variety after variety of AR-15, because the commercial market was driving it, not the military. I mean, they were just making sales with this stuff. So that's
even in the military, it was like you say, there was one, and then there was a couple, and then it was like, well, 3 different versions, and now you can start swapping parts, and that's going to happen. But then you get even past forward to where you were talking about, and you've got what do you call it, like room entry SWAT stuff, like close quarter CQB is going to want a different gun than a sniper, who is going to want a different rifle and caliber AR than I'm trying to think of something else, like maybe an MP. Then everybody's going to want something different, parade gun. And then there's the guns that you're going to use at training. Then there's going to be the guns you put an M203 underneath. Then there's going to be the guns that, I don't know, somebody else probably wants something small for like forward observers or crew chiefs or somebody, right? There's once you can make them on, starts. Yeah, exactly. Right. So I think that's, even in the military, there was a time when you could say there was this many ARs, I could almost keep up with them. And without even the commercial side, just on the military side, you could almost keep up with them until about when we were in the 90s. And then it was like, oh, wait a minute, we can ask for these, or more like somebody asked for them and then they dissipated down. Somebody asked for them and they dissipated down. There was a lot of like, hey, this is a good idea. Oh, wait, no, it's not a good idea. You can have it. Well, you guys probably got a lot of them, that kind of stuff. Oh, we thought this was a great idea. Now the Marines can have it.
Like Marine Corps, that was it. Marine Corps came up with the A2 in the early 80s. And then it was like, they had the M16, what do they call it? The 605, Colt 605, but they tried to give a 16-inch barrel. It ended up being a 15.5-inch barrel. What happened? Special Forces of Vietnam wanted a shorter rifle. And that's what it really started the Max Sog teams and all those guys wanted to throw the rifle, and they were trying to figure out how to cut the M16 down, and that was the process.
Yeah,
So
they just
by the
started
time the
doing it.
Delta,
Yeah.
yeah, Delta got it and started making it. One of the coolest books out there, one of the cooler books out there, which you can't find because whatever, was that Vickers Guide on the M16, because they just marched through it with every minutia, photos, explanation about how we got to where we are today. And I thought that was pretty interesting because you went through so many iterations. Because, like you said, they started specializing in AR. It went from being a 20-inch general issue rifle to, hey, these guys needed, we needed with a 10.5-inch barrel, we needed with 11-inch barrel, we need a 14.5. We want to use it as a SAS rifle with a 20-inch barrel for a designated marksmanship rifle. All that stuff started coming in. And as long as you took the same magazines and most of the same parts and same trigger, they were cool with it. So that's why we have so many different variations of M16 AR. And then the AK is exactly what you said. Warsaw Pack got it. It was like, hey, as long as it takes this AK magazine, we're all good. Except the Czechs were like, yeah, watch this. This VZ58. We're going to do our own thing, dude.
We're
But
going to
everybody
do
else, at least,
exactly what you say and nothing else. Only
yes,
the part.
we're going to do exactly. Was it comply with delay, and they just complied with resistance. But I think it's really cool from a collector standpoint because it gives you a lot of stuff to get. And then even now, as a cloner, if you want to clone different U.S. military AR-15s and you live in a freer state, it's something cool to do. You can clone it almost exactly as what the U.S. military has, or you can clone it kind of in thought. Like, this is the purpose of this, to be like this gun was, but more modernized, because that's one of the things I'm doing. I have a M16 barrel with a rifle length gas system that's 15.5 inches with a 1 and 12 inch. It's straight up Vietnam era upper. And what they tried to do, Colt tried to do in house, was make that rifle with a polymer lower in like 1971, 1972. But the polymers weren't that great. Well, I'm going to put it together with the lower from KE Arms. It's modern. And kind of do anachronistic version of the same rifle that has that pencil barrel, rifle length gas system, 16-inch barrel, lightweight as possible, fun gun. Or I may just do it and leave it with the Vietnam era triangle. Triangle handguards, because I got that too. I got the whole thing to build a Vietnam era upper, but I'm going to have to pin and weld the freaking muzzle device on it because it's 15.5 inches, not 16.
I'm just watching this new, I don't remember if it's brand new, but a newish King Kong movie. Have you seen the one with Samuel L. Jackson in there? And it's like the Vietnam era King Kong movie.
Yeah, I never saw it, but yeah. I didn't know it was era. It was?
Yeah, that's the cool part about it. I mean, I've seen it, I guess, before, but I forgot about this part of it. But yeah, it's supposed to take place during the Vietnam War, essentially. So Samuel L. Jackson is like the kind of guy from Apocalypse Now. He's a Huey. He's comfortable in the Huey, but he's some sort of special operations team that is sent with the scientist guy to go look for King Kong. But the movie, their guns are the Vietnam era M16s. So it's kind of
nice.
We're talking about the same thing. I've been watching like fiction. They're shooting at dragons or whatever the bad guy is for the King Kong movie in this thing. It's kind of like his dragon looking thing. But they're shooting all these old M16s, so it's pretty cool. It's kind of fake because they just work perfectly and they're all brand new looking, but they're probably CGI. I don't even know if they're holding real guns nowadays in movies,
Can you imagine trying to because it's always weird when you make a King Kong movie, how big King Kong is, because it changes.
Yeah,
but
in the movie, it seems like it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, how big is this monstrosity, and what made you think that gun would be the thing you want to use on it?
Well, no, in the movie they're not. But yeah, they're not shooting King Kong with an M16, but it's like these dragon things, or maybe the size of bigger than a horse, but like an elephant size. So they're shooting those kind of things at it, or with it. And then there's other things like giant bugs. So they're just shooting it, but not at King Kong necessarily.
Oh,
The
okay.
movie's kind of weird. King Kong's kind of the good guy. They have to discover it, not to spoil it for anybody, but King Kong's on our side. He fights Godzilla in this series of movies, but in this one, they're discovering King Kong on the island, and the bad guys are really these lizard things that look kind of like dragons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
I've
know.
never, I've
King
never,
Kong bad guy in this one.
I've never watched those movies. I got to hang out with, what is it, the Asian America Pacific Gun Club or something like that.
Okay, the AAA,
You know them from out? Yeah.
Asian Pacific
So I got,
Islanders Gun Club.
yeah, yeah. So I got to hang out with their president. He was in my group too. When we got back together,
This
that
is an
was
Ambassador
awesome.
Academy.
At the Ambassador Academy, I was scrolling through, just saw the pictures where I made him laugh. Dude, I was making him laugh the entire event from busting his chops. I'll go ahead and put it out there. We had a reporter from a news outlet that was left leaning news outlet. Uh, they vetted her as in saying that she seems to do fair coverage, and they put her with our group, my group, and they were like, okay, don't curse, don't do this, don't do that, and be a good example. So of course, day one we go into CQB, and I transform into Samuel L. Jackson and just start cursing up a storm doing my thing. It's like, yeah, don't curse in front of the reporter so she doesn't have a bad opinion of us. Okay. Then you put me in a situation where I just curse like a sailor. And that sucked. But it wasn't bad. She was a 25-year-old girl from Jersey. You know, she was born in Queens, but she grew up here, like less than 5 miles from where I live right now. So she didn't put her hands over her ears and go, oh my goodness, my virgin ears.
Did she
So
participate in
I
the thing,
said,
or was she just observing it like an audit,
yep.
or was she like a participant?
Nope. She participated in CQB and learned that she has a lot to learn because she's such a nice young lady that was taught to be nice. She couldn't project a voice. Like she was trying to be reasonable with people that were playing homeless people that were being aggressive with her. And it's like, yo, you got to change up. You have to change up. You're not in Princeton anymore, honey. Yeah, I live outside of Trenton. She lives in Princeton, which you'd think would be, since they're so close together, they wouldn't be that different. Hugely different, and it showed. But she was there, and it was interesting having a member of, as she said, the fake news. She was like, "Yeah, I'm a member of the fake news." So having a member of the press there was really different, and she was willing to participate, get her hands dirty, and try new things. And then at the end of the day, because she only had one day, she did it on her own dime. She was like, it's not an assignment. I heard about it. Somebody told me about it, and I'm willing to come down and spend my own money, fly down to Florida and participate. Because she took vacation for a ski trip, but made the first day of her vacation come into Ambassador Academy
Like water
because
skiing,
she
or
wanted to
go
stay
into
back.
some mountain somewhere?
No, mountain snow skiing. So
Oh,
she
okay.
flew back out.
So that's
Yeah,
definitely
she
a
flew
bigger
from DC.
expense.
Yeah, she flew from DC to Florida to participate in one day of the Ambassador Academy. And she'd already taken a medical class, so instead of sending her to medical class with us, she went to the range and they introduced her to firearms. And by the end of the day, she was firing full auto MP5s. And then when they cut us
You
loose, we went to
Did you
dinner
have
with
enough time with her to find out? Oh, if you ate dinner with her, did you have enough time to find out then if she changed her mind, or if she had what kind of impression she had then?
her. She said she was really impressed by it. It was fun. She shot really, really well. Actually, I think she took her target home with her. Um, she wasn't really anti, but she was like, because she lives in DC. So she can't carry a firearm anyway with the regulations they have there. And so many of the places her as a reporter or journalist would go, she can't get in with a firearm. But she's a realist, and she realizes that she's kind of in danger in Washington, and maybe she's willing to look. And I think she made a smart move by going to Ambassador Academy. Whoever
Okay, so it
suggested
sounds
did a
like
really good
she
job.
was curious and used her credential to be able to participate, to stick her toe in the water, but not so much like I want to just
Yeah,
confirm my biases and then leave because I just need to confirm my biases and leave. I don't need to be there for 3 days.
yeah.
Okay.
So I made sure I would her stay near her and talk to her because I wanted to know what it's about, and I also wanted to talk. And I told her about the diversity shoots, and since her parents still live in Princeton, she's Jersey based. I was like, send your parents to one of my events. They're going to be one every 2 weeks in Jersey. And she gave me her cell phone number and everything. So I texted her, asked her how she was doing, how she enjoyed the event, because I want to keep that line of communication open if we can, to get her to bring her parents to one of our events. I mean, truthfully, she doesn't have to bring her parents, but I think, like most people, they're afraid to send their loved ones to a gun event. Um, but I would love to have people come by because she said her parents are more conservative than she is. And I'm like, send mom and dad to the event. They can bring you later. But I think they're going to find out that they like what we do because I don't try to preach them using, you need a gun. No, this is a thing. This is an amazing option. And this is also a civil right. And maybe it'll get her to own a firearm eventually, even in DC. Maybe it get her to be more ungovernable. Maybe it gets her to stand up when they have or at least be more middle of the road as a journalist when it comes to firearms topics on her news program.
Well, that's the thing. I suspect that people that are open-minded enough to actually pay attention to both sides would get upset when they're told XYZ and then they experience it and they find out the reality is, ABC, completely different. 1, 2, 3, totally different
Mm-hmm.
than what they were told. They're going to be upset and they're going to want to, I don't want to say spread the word, but at least let others know, like, hey, you don't have to listen to this one point of view. In fact, this is probably the wrong point of view. This isn't so controversial as
Well,
they're making it sound, or cut and dry as they're making
yeah,
it
as
sound.
a lady, yeah, as a woman that's on that side, as intelligent as she is, and that has been on CNN and other shows, she might. And this is why I talk to people. Go, you can't throw every baby out with the bathwater. She will get in the rooms that we won't be able to. And she may be that voice of reason or that middle of the road voice. Remember, this is not her whole world. She ain't a gun person, but she might be a rights person or just might be a truth person and go, what they're saying is not true. And this is why. Because those are the people who are also assets. One, it gets her as a human being to be able to protect herself. Let's never forget that part. But the other is because of her job, she gets in those rooms and can tell the truth.
This is
Or at least call out the lies.
I'm assuming this is a picture of her on your Instagram. It took me forever to
That's
pause
funny.
on that. That took me forever to pause on that. That's like part of a video, but I don't know how you got it in there.
Yeah, that's funny. Did I post a picture of her?
No, I have no idea. I was just wanting to figure out a way to shove the alligator in there. It was just a picture of
But
an alligator.
that was funny.
Or is that a stuffed
Oh, dude,
alligator?
that was great because I know how hard you had to work to nail that one.
Oh, it took forever. It only flashes on the screen for a moment.
But these guys, I think she may be an asset to what we do. Hopefully.
Yeah,
Hopefully. I didn't even ask her if I put her.
That's a pretty cool opportunity because I think that's, again, well, it's possible that nothing happens. I guess that's probably the biggest potential, right? Like, or she'll have like some inkling, like everything you said. But if she goes to her job and they're like, no, then what's she going to do? Like, I stand up for what's right and quit. No, you can't expect her to do that.
No.
So maybe at some dinner parties or something, she'll be like, you know what? I've done some things and That's not the way to think of everybody, because that's not everybody. You're forgetting all these people too. Because really, it's about rights. It's
Yeah, I
awareness,
mean,
and that's what it's all about.
it's awareness, it's rights, and that's why I want to try to get her to come to my events. I'm not going to harass her, but I am going to send her the dates for the rest of the year of diversity shoots. And I'm like, and I might remind her, hey, we're close to your house, you're close to your parents' house, we're only 20 minutes away, that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
to
for
get
sure.
her to come, because again, I feel she's an asset. And you never know, she's 25. Um, she might get in her head that I'm not going to lie, but I'm tired of the lies. And they have more options now. You could get blacklisted back in the day, but now today's age, you can start a podcast with nothing but your cell phone and a headset,
And the
and
problem
she
is,
already has the background.
there's the counterculture or the contrary nature of kids, the youth, right? They don't want to agree with
Hmm.
whatever the parents said, even if the parents have. Well, a lot of times parents are wrong. Like there's that. But then even if the parents are just doing something, I don't know, stuck in some old traditional way or something, kids can have a problem with that just because they're kids, right? So when you've got
Hmm.
a, I'm gonna say culture, if that's the right word or not, or if it's a, because I think it's maybe more produced than that. Like it's a, not scripted, but it's like a contrived thing. But maybe it is just by nature or something. But if the culture is to be contrary, and we don't like this, we don't like that, we don't like the way this is handled, we don't like that, and the thing is they fluctuate so much because sometimes they don't like the police, and sometimes the police are the only people that should have guns, right? Like they're very
Hmm.
uh, contrary in their thing, but they're also just contrary to the system, except for when they want to be burrowed in the system. Like they very much love the system in some respects, but then they, there's elements of the system that they hate. So is when you have that element and you bring people in that want to be contrary and want to also hate corruption in the system, and then you're the system, well, guess what? They're going to start looking at you. And right now you've got a bunch of antis that are standing on the graves of suicides. They only
Hmm.
bring up suicides when they need to, but then they ignore suicides when it comes time to actually mitigate, whatever the word is, to reduce suicides,
Medicaid, yeah.
right? And then,
Hmm.
you could look at that from so many different angles, but the same thing with when you get to the 18 and 19-year-olds. Oh, the number one leading deaths of children, except children are 18 and 19-year-olds. Well, what do we think that's just random 18 and 19-year-olds, or is this 18 and 19-year-olds in circumstances run by political failures or having in areas that have had massive political failures? And now you're going to suggest
Hmm.
the one implement that's often used, but an implement that can come from just as easily from the fentanyl route as from, the stolen. And then here's the best one. I love this one. I don't know if you've heard this one, but unapologetically armed out of Missouri, right? Susan out of Missouri, unapologetically
Yeah,
armed,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Women for
Hmm.
gun rights. And her thing is gun-free zones have got to go, right? They have been
Yep.
doing a campaign recently about stolen guns out of cars, right? Oh, guns get stolen out of cars. You shouldn't have guns because guns get stolen out of cars. Why are guns in cars? Are we dumbasses that leave our guns in cars, or are we legally forced to go into a gun-free zone and leave our gun in our car? And when you have a gun-free zone,
Hmm.
you have a supermarket of cars that might have guns in them. The criminal, and if a criminal is just busting into cars anyway, and you tolerate that because anything under blah 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 is tolerable, and then you create a
Hmm.
situation these cars are going to potentially have more guns. So they're creating the same. When I say create political situations, that's an excellent example. I think one that we don't focus on enough. It's a new one for me, at least, of
Hmm.
a political situation that's contrived or created by. Again, I'm not going to suggest that they were criminal masterminds that sat down and said, "Aha, the best way we can make gun owners look bad here is by doing this and this." But it certainly worked in their favor to have created a bunch of dumbass circumstances where this is happening, and they're certainly not going to go in front of gun-free zones. More guns get stolen. No, they're just going to say more guns get stolen, right? So I think that element is
Yep.
interesting, and we should be using it more. But anyway, that's sort of
It's
the point, right? Is that there's these different ways that we can attack their bullshit, and when somebody like you're talking about sees that, she's going to challenge that bullshit. That's not like you're not fighting fair. You're using bullshit numbers. You're taking the 19 and 18-year-olds when you want them. You're saying this. You're only concerned with that, and then you're disregarding stuff that's the other side's numbers all the time. And, someone individually
All the time.
is going to be offended by that. At least I'm hoping she'll be offended by that. And when you get offended by that and you feel wronged, you don't just go, and then are you quiet about that? Or do you go, what the hell have they been doing to us? Look at this, right?
Uh-huh. And it's like, oh, well, you're trying to use somebody. No, I'm trying to do the same thing with her that I've done with everybody for the last 9 years. Make you aware of the lies that are being told and what you can do about it. It's
When
like,
someone's
don't think you
attacking
need to
you,
sit
it's a
down and
big
take
mob of
this.
people. You can either fight the people that are hitting you, or you can take some of them inside and go, why are we fighting? And that's not
Mhm.
taking advantage or whatever. That's just alternatively, that's the same idea as not getting into the gun confrontation if it's not necessary. Right?
Yep.
That's just like an alternative
Just
way
go
to
around outside.
stop the abuse, is to educate and create awareness, let people know, like, hey, they're attacking us, but hold on, that's not the only option here.
That's not the only option. It's not the only way you can handle this. Whatever, man. I'm loving it. I'm glad to be back on, but it's 6:00 and I'm hungry.
Yeah, you got to go do stuff. It's been 3 hours. So I appreciate everybody that's been listening to us. I'm just going to end it real quick so that me and Tony can chat real quick offline. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. We didn't get any super chats, but think about this for your shows. If you do any of these shows on YouTube, you can super chat. Everybody can super chat now, but you can thumb up super chats, or people can thumb up each other's super chats. So there's a whole nother level of participation where you can say, like, the person with the most super chat thumbs up or something, something happens. So if you're doing any of these things on YouTube and other channels and stuff, there's a new element there. All right, with that, we'll end the stream. Thanks for joining us.